behalf of ITP Media India, I welcome you all to Architects and Interiors India's Design Debate Show. I'd like to thank each one of you for joining us today in a gathering that exudes art and design from each corner. I am Shiraz Khan and I'm going to be your host for tonight. Architects and Interiors India's flagship property, Design Debate, offers a platform for knowledge sharing where design and architecture experts share their views via panel discussion, and one of the renowned brands of the design industry gets an opportunity to present its collection and numerous offerings. It's a multi-city event where every month we head to a new exciting city, and we are proud to have conducted over 40 editions so far. And it gives me immense pleasure to host our 41st edition in the port city of Kochi, the Queen of Arabian Sea as we call it. And it's coming with a brand new theme of this year, sustainability versus profitability, finding the balance. We are looking forward to an exciting panel discussion as the fourth season of Design Debate seeks to dissect this duality that architects and designers grapple with, balancing sustainable practices with cost effectiveness and profitability. We are delighted and grateful to bring together the masters of architecture and design industry of Kochi, along with a few joining us all the way from Delhi, Trivandrum and Calicut as well. So welcome to this evening, replete with knowledge sharing, and let us have a huge round of applause for Architects and Interiors India's Design Debate, the Kochi Edition. So to begin with, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Bibhor Srivastav, Managing Director Events from ITP Media India, the person who has built and created this platform, to kindly deliver the opening address. Please join me to welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Thank you for this AV, which actually transcends many, many years and the kind of journey that we've been involved. And I, for one, have been a part of the journey. When we started obviously with Hotelier India, which remained very close to my heart. And for many reasons, Hotelier India gave birth to many titles, as you see. And one such great, gorgeous property that we are in today at Kochi is absolutely an exemplary example on what we are talking today is about sustainability versus profitability and finding the balance. This hotel has really answered both the aspects, which is sustainability and how you can derive profitability. For many, many years we thought, and for me, when we are looking around us, especially in the design space, we see lots and lots of activities and forums that keep happening. And what is important to do and create, rather co-create some very meaningful and credible platforms with partners like you. And that's where we join hands with Jaguar, Karan, Mohitji, Khushbu, and lots of other people just came together and said the objective of Design Debate is to create a thread of discussion which involves people across the length and breadth of the country to find reasons and collaborate and ideate and find answers to many things together. So when we first did, Indijit, my colleague, and Sumisha, my editor there, the first year we started with tradition versus technology. The second year, we said aesthetics versus economics. The last year, we did monumental architecture versus inclusive architecture. And this year, we purposely chose, because the world is moving around, and it's no longer a fad. Green is a reality. And two of the outstanding speakers who are here with me, give it a hand for our keynote speaker, Manish Gulati. Loud one, let's hear them. They came all the way from Delhi. The man was in some jungles in Gujarat doing some gorgeous property. Thank you, Manish, for coming all the way. Thank you, my friend Ashwin Alva from Delhi. Give him a hand. He's a guest of honor on my left. I'm not going to stay and talk here and give you a discourse because there are a lot of excited, and I, like you, are here to learn. This topic is very important. I was chatting with Karan some time back, and he said how this whole hospitality world is evolving around us. And it's time to look at bespoke, and Ashwin, you also said bespoke, experiential, and I think personalization in terms of luxury. So it's not longer an opulence of luxury, but I think a meaning of purpose and personalization. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. And I have to say that how much, Saiju are here in the hall. Architect Saiju, I can't see this man. And many here. Kochi and, thank you, that's backbenchers always. But I love him, I like him, Saiju, thank you. And many of the local Kochi architects and Calicut has always been very special. Thank you, and I think like you, I'm here to learn. I think we start this great discussion in this beautiful hotel, and thank you once again. Bye.
And before we begin with the main segment of the event, we would like to acknowledge the contribution of the architecture and design field to enhance and ameliorate the infrastructure and spaces, or at the same time providing ease, comfort, and quality experiences that in turn created a significant impact on the society and our personal lifestyle. And to address the same, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Mohit Hajela, Group Head Business Development Global Operations from Jaguar India. Sir, can we please have you on stage?
At the onset, first I would like to thank the August gathering from Kochi. We always feel very enthused to come to Kerala. You have so much to offer that sitting in Delhi, it's very difficult to escape the warmth of Kerala. I think right from beautiful landscape to water to the expanse of green landscapes, you have it all lakes. I mean, it is absolutely mesmerizing, and less said of the hospitality and great food that Kerala has to offer. So it's always wonderful to be here. And equally thankful to Bibhor, Indrajit, and the entire ITP media team. I think we have always been associated with knowledge forums. We always feel that it is one of the most credible platform in India that has its outreach to not just architects and designers. I think the AV said it all, right from hospitality, one of their biggest properties, institutionalized properties from ITP Media, and also the kind of space that they are doing into manufacturing, what they are doing into smart offices, to healthcare. I think all across, it's a great way to create a knowledge-based society wherein all leading professionals from across the spectrum can come together. And I'm sure, it's equally wonderful to hear some of the most creative and structural minds anytime and always. And I have so many of them from the state of Kerala today, besides my two very good close friends, Manish Gulati and we have Ashwin Alva from Delhi. I'd like to just talk about something which is more of statistics. I think I'd like to talk more about the topic because I don't think so. Being a brand strategist and a corporate governance guy globally, I don't think so I'm qualified to talk about design per se. But as an onlooker, I think it's very important to have a third eye perspective. So I would be more keen to talk about how, as an onlooker, we look at this space. I'm sure you will agree with me that we talk about a multipolar world. We talk about fragile interconnected economies. We talk about a very, very volatile geopolitical situation today. We are talking about a renewed world order. And last but not the least, abnormal is the new normal in a typical VUCA world today. But the biggest of them all is the threat of climate change, which I think holds the entire world to ransom. Few acknowledge it, many accept it, yet so many who remain ignorant of it. India as a nation, though on a very strong economic resurgence, it sees this upsurge with some great statistics. While I was flying down, I was just flipping through some of the great statistics that talks about. So I think I'd like to just throw a little perspective of how the industry, where the economics are headed. Since you talk about profitability, I think it's important to draw comparison to both the aspects of profitability and sustainability in its different ambit. See, we talk about India as a 3 trillion economy, which is most likely stated to cross a 5 trillion by 2027-28. We are talking about a construction industry of India, which almost is a statistics of closing to about 1.4 trillion USD by 2025. The construction industry in India is presently, it contributes to 9% of the GDP of the country. And if it all goes well, it is expected, and almost employing close to 51 million people today. It is expected to catapult to a 15% contribution to India's GDP by 2047. India is also the third largest construction market globally by 2025, by end of this year. We can also look at the dynamics of the real estate, wherein we talk about the real estate contribution in India, which is almost a 300 billion USD, and which is expected to hit a 1 trillion by 2030. And if all the figures go right, by almost will be a 5.8 trillion economy by 2047. That is the kind of a expansion that the real estate in India is showing, which is almost about a 12-fold rise from 2023. But all success stories, believe me, they come with a caveat. They come with a rider. And can India be insulated in this situation? When going by the UN projection, India is also expected to be a 1.67 billion population by 2047. And almost 51% of the population is going to reside in the urban centers. I can talk about that this will generate close to 70% of the country's GDP. Now imagine that 70% of country's GDP is going to come from these cities. And almost 600 million people will be residing in the urban centers. Residential segment is expected to fuel demand of 25 million homes more, housing more, into the mid-segment and the affordable housing. So if you go by the structuring of all these statistics, at one end it looks so impressive. But also one has to not forget that today the construction industry is contributing to almost 40% of the carbon emissions globally. But most important, and something now to throw back that comes out, is we talk about a rapid urbanization, we talk about a crumbling infrastructure, we talk about degrading biodiversity, we're talking about the Himalayan plates shifting, we talk about flash floods, we are talking about unprecedented heat waves. We're also talking about unplanned mobilization of cities and urban centers, typically talking about the urban heat island effect. Is sustainability and profitability not at crossroads? I think this is a food for thought. But while we talk about this, should the world not be talking about embracing biophilic urbanism today? Should we not talk about the modern vernacular architecture today? Should it not be a focus towards decarbonizing the environment? Should we not talk about green design, green technology, passive cooling trends? I think eventually green walls, green roofs. I think climate sensitive architecture. And last but not the least, while we are talking about profitability in such a profound manner, how can we talk about a Kochi airport being shut down for 8 days because of floods? Where does the economics go now? So I think it's equally important that we need to talk about a disaster resilient infrastructure today and how we go about building it. At Jaguar Group, yes, now I would like to quickly summarize talking about how we lead the industry into sustainable production. And talking about the economics and talking about both, I mean, I think it's fairly known in the industry that our indulgence is into water. We have started flirting with light very recently. But believe me, I'm talking about a setup. We are the first USGBC LEED Platinum certified corporate headquarters at Manesar. We are generating closing to about 13.5 megawatt total solar installed capacity. What we use, the rest of it goes back to the national grid. Practically every bit of a waste water is being recycled into horticulture and cooling towers. Every bit of waste food goes into biomass energy. It's not that this was not by default. We designed a corporate headquarters with radiant cooling technology that almost saved us 40 to 42% of air conditioning loads. Similar extension went from the headquarters, moving to a LEED Platinum certification for all the 7 plants that we have in the country. We talk about a global supply chain, almost manufacturing closing to 150,000 faucets a day. You will be happy to know that we are almost recycling 5 lakh liters of water every day. I'm saying every day. And I can talk about a footprint wherein we are able to recover 4,221 metric tons of brass annually. We are able to recycle and recover 8.1 metric tons of chrome salt annually. And the total, we are able to mitigate closing to 18,500 tons of carbon footprint. And with all these renewable energy inputs, we are able to mitigate 21,000 tons of carbon footprint. When you lead the industry into sustainable production, do you think this is not impacting economics and profitability? I think it does. But again, I would be putting a hat of a corporate governance guy, but I think it's more to learn from fellow designers, and I think we are looking forward to a great session today. So thank you, Kochi, for coming in full force, energizing us, inspiring us. And also, we have had some guests who have come from Calicut. Thank you so much for flying down and making this evening so special. Thank you so much.
With our aim to acknowledge the design and architecture industry, it takes immense pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this edition, joining us all the way from Delhi, sharing his work and incredible experiences over the years. With a vast experience from designing exhibition, retail residences to national institutional projects, sports stadiums, and hospitality projects, his work reflects his clear approach to design, contemporary, bold, and global, with subtle regional contextual interventions to concepts. His innate ability to remain abreast with technology, his deep love for the arts, and sensitivity towards life always remains at core to any of his works. Ladies and gentlemen, with great pride, I'd like to invite on stage our keynote speaker for this edition, Architect Manish Gulati, Principal Architect, Studio Mofa.
Thank you, Vibhor, for inviting me to this wonderful city. He called me about a week ago and he said, you have to come for a talk, choose a city. And the moment he said Kochi, in my head, I was playing Upperman fish curry. And without even thinking, I said, yes. I canceled all my other plans. I said, I need to be here. Because I love this city, I love the vibe of Kerala. And this is not the first time I'm coming here, but there is something beautiful about this place. And talking about sustainability, I think this state has always been the front runner when it comes down to taking the local ethos, the regional ethos, and making everything sustainable. So there's a lot of inspiration from here. Today, I want to talk about, it's not about profitability versus sustainability. It never has been for us. It is always, what I call it is profitable sustainability. And the moment you see profitability in sustainability, I think when they go both hand in hand, you really don't have to make an extra effort in terms of making a project sustainable. As an architect, I have started my cycle 20 years ago in the rough grounds of doing government projects first and then coming to the private sector. And when you work with the government, you learn the hard way in terms of how to manage finances, how to work with L1 contractors, how to work with minimal budgets. So when you come to the luxury segment, which I've come to now, I've started doing last 4 or 5 years, I've gone into the segment, suddenly the budgets seem like, oh, there's a lot of money. You know, when you're working with 5 rupees and suddenly you get 500 rupees to play with, then you already know where to spend that 495 rupees extra. So I call it SML Excel and Sustainable Luxury. SML Excel is a book by Rem Koolhaas, which I had read during my college days. And it talks about how a small firm, OMA, went from a small firm to an extra large firm doing extra large projects without changing the ethos of what the firm stood for as a small firm. And that's something that we've always tried to do, right from the first interiors that we did down to the stadiums that we have done, and now the larger projects or the institutes that we're doing, that the ethos of the firm do not change, they just go further and further. So I'm going to start with a very small project. I call it the Moose Bush for the evening. And since I come from Delhi, statistics, Mohit, I was reading, it's fun statistics. The only two states which have the maximum consumption of beer is Kerala and Delhi. So this is a small project we did, which is a microbrewery in Delhi. And it's called Flow Brew and Dine. It's in a property, and I'm going to start because I call it the small project. The site is a DLF property in Delhi, an upmarket mall, 10,000 square feet of area. Very oddly placed structural columns, odd space, pockets of things. And now if you have to understand the dynamics of how these food industry works in Delhi, the rentals are extremely high. And in order to be able to sustain yourself, your planning for that space has to be extremely efficient. Your overhead has to be extremely low, and your infrastructure cost has to be well controlled. So in this case, the first step was to tie up the space, work out the zones in a way that within the available constraints, the whole space sort of starts dividing into different zones. We added these series of arches, simple architectural intervention, placed the microbrewery right in the front so that it becomes a gallery when somebody walks through it, and it becomes almost like a museum or a place where workshops could happen. This is one of the first microbreweries of Delhi. So there's a lot of workshops that happens with the chef, with the curators, with beer tasters, and people who are aspiring into the culinary experiences. So this almost becomes like a workshop area. The kitchen, very oddly, we placed right where the windows were because we wanted the most sustainable way of cooking throughout the natural light coming into the main kitchen. Usually in these restaurants, kitchens are always stuck back into the dark side. But here we said, let's place it right here. We placed a long bar, the longest bar, 60 feet bar, right where the window is, so that anybody sitting there, one faces this beautiful forest which is right below. So this is DLF Saket, and I'm sure, Mohit, you're aware of this property. But this long bar ties up the whole space, and it sort of spans between the two zones of these arches that we're talking about. Coming further, we gave booth seatings, free seating, and a performance area. So the whole planning is, in a way, very flexible. Some areas are fixed, and they become the key pivotal points of running the space very efficiently. As far as the materials were concerned, we said, let's not go more than 3 materials. And the 3 materials that we talked about, one we used was wood. And this wood was sustainably sourced from the old beer barrels. So this is old oak wood that we got, and this oak wood was then burnt on site to give it a dark texture. By burning the wood, it's an old Japanese technique that once you burn this wood and you sort of coat it and polish it, it becomes maintenance-free. The longevity of the material increases. The second material we experimented was with lime and a mix of white cement. On site itself, a texture which we literally called the flow texture, because the place is called flow, and it's the flowing plaster which forms this whole vibe or the place what it should be. Those are the interiors of what it looks like. So basic 3 materials. The third material, which I didn't talk about, is the terrazzo flooring, which is cast on site, which goes in a flowing pattern. Again, stone which was very responsibly sourced. The waste stone which is available in the market, mix of various Italian pieces which are like leftover pieces, cut into pieces and into a standard size, and then use that as a standard pattern. So the whole place worked with these 3 materials, and with a lot of natural light coming in, forms the overall simplistic space itself. A lot of natural light comes in. As far as the terrace was concerned, we were given the constraint of not to puncture anything into the terrace, put structures and tie up the place in a way that it becomes another 4,500 square feet of area, we said, why not marry nature and structure together? So we designed the whole space using series of planters and seating together. A very simple idea. And we designed a seating which is like a counterweight to the entire planter, or rather the other way around. So we did a large canopy, which is a 12-feet canopy, which sort of covers a modular system. By the way, I'm a huge fighter for not doing projects on site. We do a lot of prefab because I believe the carbon footprint by doing prefab is the lowest compared to casting concrete or doing projects on site. So as much as possible, we do prefab or precast. And this whole system was done as these regular 4-feet modules, which were prefab in a factory brought together. And the entire canopy, including the seating, is counterbalanced by this planter. We wanted to bring the greens in, biophilic architecture Mohit was talking about. It's very difficult to convince clients in Delhi to say that spend an X amount on plants, spend an X amount on greens. So here we did a little tongue-in-cheek. Without these planters, these canopies won't stand. So it became a counterweight kind of a principle. All these heavy planters take care of the entire canopy. It's not even tied to the ground. They just sit on the ground, forming this whole sort of sit-out space. And they are also now growing herbs into these planters, which are used in the restaurant itself. So it has become a large ground for growing plants, making it into its own small microenvironment. A very simple project, yet something that was very meaningful to us. I come to the next project. Now this is the tale of two cities in Himachal Pradesh. The two cities, Nagar and Kangra. Both have been the capital kingdoms in the 12th century and the 13th century. They were both fortresses. And starting with Nagar, which is what I call the medium-sized project, it's a resort we've done. It's a small resort, Tree of Life, where what you see in front are the Dholadar Ranges. And the site is a beautiful site on top of a hill overlooking this valley. So when we got, the first time I went to this site, I realized that, the way the cities have grown, the urban centers have grown in these hill stations, they have made it into these concrete jungles. I mean, look at Shimla. It's a mess when we look at it. And we had to make a project. But as an architect, as a human being, it always pushed me from inside that I don't want to build another concrete jungle. I want to build something that merges with what this whole nature and environment is, or the context is. So we learned from the ants, how the ants build into the earth and how nature works. So nature works in sync with what the ecosystem is, and it creates its own ecosystem. So this is the first sketch where we said, rather than cutting the hill, standard steps, and building these G+3 concrete boxes, let's go slightly below, grow out of the ground, and build architecture that merges eventually with the land itself. So with the first set of project, the first phase conceived of these 6 pods. These 6 pods, which I call the biomorphic pods, or the origamic pods, which eventually would take the local vegetation over it, it'll grow over it, and sort of merge with this whole land itself. The gaps were left in a way that we didn't want to disturb the water flow. That's something that we do for every site. Existing trees, existing rocks, existing water flow is the first thing that's studied and researched deeply. We spend days understanding that, get all our data, and the planning is done that the natural water flow should not be disturbed at all in any site. So here again, working with the section, we even preserved the 6 pine trees that were there on the site. We did not want to cut a single tree, and the building grows around it. That is the first concept when we designed it. These pods that come down and the main building at the back. This is during the construction, and I'm going to take you through this construction phase. We did minimal intervention with RCC walls. The RCC walls have been designed in a direction that they do not obstruct or block the water flow, and they just become the support at the bottom. The rest of the structure was done as a prefab steel frames which were brought from Delhi, and we literally built like ants. So this project took a very long time. It was painfully slow, but the whole process, and you have to understand, a place like Nagar, it is cold 6 months. So the hands get cold. Even with the welders who are working, they can't work more than 15 minutes at a time, and they have to take a break of half an hour because it gets really cold. The metal is very cold. So it was a slow process, painful process, but consistently, like ants, these units were built. And this is covered with a very thin shell, just 40 mm of ferro concrete. The ferro cement was done at the site itself. We waterproofed, done sustainably. And this is, in fact, one of the photographs during construction when the whole place is covered with snow. So how it sort of merges with the hills, which are opposite, with these eyes in the sky, as what we call it, these skylights, which have been strategically placed to bring the winter sun into the room so that one can bring down the air conditioning costs. Enough sunlight, enough heat can be generated during the winters so that the heating can be cut out, and you can turn these into these mini greenhouses which do the natural heating during the winters. So these pods that were conceived, and this is what was built. Lot of models, painful physical models to make people understand. So the work was not done by specialized industries here. It was done by labor at the site, where every pipe, every junction had to be told and explained. So there were these physical models which were there to explain to them, and the roof which appears slowly into a completion. We also worked with a lot of craftsmen. The client, they're very conscious about the fact that a lot of, okay, so very interesting part of this. During the end of this whole project, when we were finishing it, COVID hit. And the client moved to the site for 6 to 8 months, and an employment was given to more than 100 local craftsmen to do everything for this property in terms of whether it's these metal screens, whether it is the local crafts, so that the employment could be given to people who had lost jobs during COVID at that time. And the whole property got completed during the COVID itself. So what you see as a light fixture is the weaving addas. The whole light fixture is made with the collection of weaving addas. It's what you do with your embroidery on. The rooms with a lot of natural light coming in, views to the mountains outside. Clean, simple architecture, as what I call it. I mean, my friends don't call it simple. But this is what the property is today. I'll run a small movie. They also grow their own food. So a lot of the food is grown around the place which is used in the restaurants. Here are the existing trees which have been draped. This brings me to the large and extra large project, because this project grew from large to extra large. It's an institute for National Institute of Fashion Technology. We all know NIFT very well. Why I included this project here was that NIFT trains students in the fashion industry, fashion which is connected to luxury. And when we got this project as a competition that we had won, it was a national level competition 10 years ago, the site is so beautiful again. It is Nagar, and it's Kangra. And Kangra Fort is something that if people have not visited, you must visit, because it's one of those stoic forts that has never been invaded. It is solid rock. I'll show you that, what the inspiration was from. But the idea here was that we wanted to create an institute that imbibes values of sustainability, that imbibes the value of love for your land, regionalism, and the local ethos into the students from day one itself. We didn't want to create an institute that's ostentatious. We wanted to create something that is very local, something that's very basic, something that the students are connected to the land, water, and the earth on an everyday basis. So, going further, the site is located in Kangra, at the edge of a mountain. So on one side is a river, it's a vertical fall, and on the other side you have the Dhauladhar Mountains. So that's an old Google image of the site. That's Kangra Fort. The imprint of this Kangra Fort is something that we drew inspiration from. How it sort of sits on a top of a hill. It has these continuous walls, and the architecture responds, and it created its own ecosystem. A lot of it is still intact, the entire fort. It's more than 1,200 years old. And as the legends go, it was never attacked and never invaded because of first the topography and secondly how it was constructed. With a series of ramps, you had to sort of climb right to the top where the palace was. The overall look and feel of it. And the first sketch, so rather than building an institute which is a ground plus 3 or a ground plus 4 or a mega building, we broke the whole institute down into smaller blocks, into smaller modular blocks which were just ground plus 1 structures. And we said that let's maintain the topography of the hill. This was the first sketch for the institute, and the first concept that we won the competition on. The project actually started with the student housing, so which was a large-scale project at that time, and the way the project continued or further went into construction, they got more land and the scope of work also increased for us. We mapped the hill where the housing was going to come. There were close to 40 old banyan and mango trees on that site. And the topography is, as you can see, it's about 40 degrees. We mapped the contours, water flow, trees, not only the trees as a standard survey of trunk, but the branches and the foliage. And mapped it to a level where how the tree would grow or expand in future. So each and every tree, and we said we have to respect this land and everything that is there on this land. The hostel units were conceived as smaller modular blocks, like a pixelated land, where wherever the trees came, they became open courtyards, open spaces, connected with these series of steps and streets which are inspired from the villages of Kangra. So when you see a village which is built chaotically, and it's not chaotic, it's actually an ecosystem that's been there for years. When the village comes together, they don't level or flatten the land. Each house is on a different level. You climb up the steps, you climb down, and it is just a way of life. Nobody there that says that, oh, it's inconvenient for me to go 5 steps up or 5 steps below. Because they know how to respect that land. They know the water flow for every rainfall, every monsoon. You cannot stop it. I mean, look at what's happening in Delhi and in areas like Sultanpur, where rampant construction, the old lakes and the rivers have gone because the water flow has been stopped by crazy construction, the unplanned urban construction. So we said here, let's follow the water flow and these trees, which are the basic clues for us, and build this hostel. So this is the master plan that came about. Series of rooms with these connected streets going at different levels, flowing over a hill itself. And that is what it is today. The trees were there before the building came in. So we maintained and retained every tree, every branch. Of course, it was a fight working with the government engineers and contractors who wanted to cut these trees down and sell the wood, because that's the easiest thing to do. It is very difficult to construct in a hill, maintaining the trees and its roots, and to make sure that the trees don't die. So we literally fought tooth and nail to preserve every tree on that site. And besides that, the whole building is a green rated building. It's got cavity walls. It collects rainwater throughout, from the top of the campus to the bottom of the campus. We have about 1.5 lakh liters of water tank, which gets filled for the campus requirements, and then the rest of it goes and flows back into the city. That's the hostel block. By the time the institute came in, and yeah, that's the roofscape, how it sort of looks at the Dhauladar Hills. The institute in itself, we said, let's connect it. Let's design a place like the old school where the classes don't have to happen inside the classroom all the time. The classes should happen outside the classroom. Because the main learning out here for any designer is not sitting inside a 4-wall. When you have this nature, when you have the Dhauladar Hills, when you are in that environment, which has got so much of energy into it, you'd rather be sitting out and get your inspiration from there. And even till today, when I went last time to make a movie, impromptu classes were happening, and I'll show you that in the AL view. So it was these in-between spaces that we were looking at, that imprint of Kangra Fort into an institution, a stoic, single material, locally sourced stone throughout the campus, whether it is slate or the local limestone that you get, everything is sourced from there itself. Again, the existing trees have been left as it is. And the whole campus is connected with these series of outdoor spaces. The classrooms are simple, with the base as a local stone wall, double cavity wall. The first floor, we've used the green cement concrete planks, which is a highly sustainable green rated material again. And the roofs are steel roofs, again done as a modular system, factory built, not bolted on site, so as to reduce almost 40% of carbon footprint, which happens through RCC roofs and RCC beams. So these are lightweight roofs. And just a view of how the tree has been preserved and saved, which is sitting on a hill majestically. So we created these courtyards, which have now become places for students to sit, socialize, interact, chat. Even with the phones on and the social media on, I still see students sitting outside and not sitting inside, because there is a lot more. The sound of the birds, the air, everything out here, it responds to what this whole campus is. So yeah, that's the hostel, institute, and the trees. Yes, of course, a little bit of poetry. When we saw bougainvillea there, we had to paint it red, the staircase at the back. So somewhere that romanticism had to get responded with each other. And it worked well because there was a fire escape staircase, so we just painted it red to the same color of the bougainvillea. A sunrise fashion show with the students there. And we used the entire campus as a ramp. So it's never sustainability against profitability. Sustainability is always profitable, as that's what we've learned. Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Mr. Mohit Hajela from Jaguar India, and along with him Mr. Bibhor Srivastav from ITP India to kindly felicitate our dear keynote for this edition. Following the concept of design debate, it takes immense pleasure to offer a platform to the finest vendors in the design and architecture sector to present their product line and offerings. And having said that, I'd like to begin with our first partnering brand that is a pioneer in the segment of bath and light. May we please have the AV?
One of the fastest growing bath and light brands in the world, Jaguar Group is a multi-diversified company that prides itself on over 6 decades of manufacturing excellence. To rediscover the joy of water and light.
And as we dwell further in the evening, we are delighted to introduce to you all our guest of honor of this edition here with us to share his vision and experience in this field, joining us yet again from the capital city, Delhi. With versatility in developing design solutions over various conditions defined by site locations and context, climatic variables, and construction parameters, his projects are diverse in scale and scope that varies from a 700-key hotel in Mumbai to the redevelopment of the Madras Crocodile Bank, Chennai, bouquet resorts in Ladakh, the Andamans, Uttarakhand, along with premium residences in Delhi, Goa, Mumbai, Thailand, and Dubai. Ladies and gentlemen, with great pride, I'd like to invite on stage our guest of honor of this edition, Architect Ashwin Alva, Principal Architect from Alva Architects. May we please have him on stage?
We are a very low-key studio. It's not often that we participate in events like this. I would thank Bibhor and Mohit for having me here and to show some of our work. I've cobbled together a few slides of our projects over the past few years and one from earlier, all of which cover the parameters of the topic being debated and hopefully will convey our approach to this. We don't present very normally other than client presentations, so very rare to a forum like this. So you'll have to pardon me if I've just put in some thoughts and notes together to go ahead along with what I'm sharing, culled together from our various project photographs. Okay, so I would just rephrase this a bit like what Manish said a short while back. I would look at it as sustainability and profitability. They go hand in hand. They're not mutually exclusive. They do go together, especially from us as a design profession. It's what we owe the industry. It's the thought process and effort which we have to put in together towards, what we have to achieve and build as our how would I put it? I'm just speaking a bit extempore out here as what we offer and should offer to our clients, irrespective of what their needs and demands are. A common thread, and okay, there's missing text. 1 minute. All right, sorry. A common thread or narrative consciously applied on all our builds is efficiency. So what we would look at in this is an efficiency of build, an efficiency of function, an envelope and system efficiency as a subset of the upper two, visual and aesthetic efficiency, the last parameter is the only fully subjective parameter among these. Our projects vary in our studio very drastically in program scale and locale. So we balance all of these parameters in varying percentages in each of our projects, basis the variations in program, in order to achieve what we would say a cost-effective and sustainable build. These terms, like I mentioned earlier, are not mutually exclusive, and the one note which I put out here primarily is, as architects, I'd say profitability is not our purview. If it was, we would not be practicing architects. We would have moved on to far more profitable ventures. What we can just do is to build as efficiently and both in terms of design function, in terms of envelope performance, in terms of the overall building system as possible, give the most cost-effective and efficient solution to our client and the end user out here. Okay, sorry, this is just what I'd read right throughout here. I'll just run it through. I'm sharing 4 projects of drastically varying program scale and locale, which would give a sense of our studio's approach to achieve this efficiency. The first one is close to 15 years back when we started this journey, one of the few gems among the crap we used to do then, and 3 recent builds which have run simultaneously over the past 3-4 years in our studio. The first project is a boutique hotel in insulated rammed earth. This was done on a very narrow 4-acre strip of land on a rocky slope near the quarries of Badarpur on the outskirts of Delhi. The build was for a 40-key boutique resort when the client had approached us. Our site strata was rocky brown quartzite clusters with large pockets of granular coarse sand, which is the red, orange Badarpur coarse sand. People familiar with that region, it was a very priced building material which subsequently got stopped from being mined out there for various reasons of environmental degradation. And the entire property was sloping down 10 odd meters along the length of the property. I'm just very briefly, each of these projects are things I can talk for more than an hour about, but I'm just going to briefly talk about a few specific components of these projects. We ended up building in insulated rammed earth. I think it's the largest insulated rammed earth structure anywhere in Asia presently. In collaboration with a team which we found on the internet a long time back, reaching out to multiple sources all over the country and elsewhere, with Firewall from Salt Spring Island in British Columbia. So the entire build turned out, which came out to be a 7-inch, 175 mm thick load-bearing rammed earth wall, among the slimmest rammed earth walls they were able to achieve with us out there, forming external structural voids, forming an external shell, and 75 millimeters of XPS internally without a single thermal bridge. So the entire building over 4 acres of constantly stepping down along the site, there was not a single thermal bridge. That's something which we very consciously focused about. There were no lintels crossing, no beams crossing, nothing. The complete envelope of insulation from the walls to the roof to moving to the next structure, never had a single break, because the basic norm, and this comes from people from cold climates who feel the pinch that even a 5% break in a thermal bridge would lead to a 25 to 30% loss in terms of heat, which you are again spending money to generate and condition your space out here. We snaps of our sketches on the site as we started, and as we went into build, and our drawings of as we developed it. We designed it as a series of clusters, constantly stepping along the lay of the land as we were moving around and moving down the slope of the property. We ended up, this is some cluster sketches where the red line is the insulation line which is running. So nowhere is the insulation broken either vertically or horizontally to completely wrap the structure completely out there. We developed a customized shuttering solution covering an entire room module. So, and we did it in such a way that it was adjustable to each permutation and combination of the module as it stepped down the site area by area. So we didn't get into, we worked out a system where the same shuttering module in its various components could be rejigged in whichever format, pulled out, opened, shifted to the next module, rammed, and moved on. Each room module was cast monolithically over 2 days with all the services integrated. So this is when, and we do a very deep dive into research irrespective of the scale and nature of the product in whichever segment which we're working in. So we ended up going down into identifying manufacturers for constantly proportioning screw-type mixers. Your conventional mixers are bucket-type mixers. They're used for wet mixes of concrete. You pour water and you're mixing the volume. Whereas here we wanted for being able to build, I mean, no one builds with 7-inch rammed earth walls. You talk to anyone about rammed earth walls in India, you go to Auroville, you go to XYZ, 2-feet walls, 1.5 feet walls. We build 7-inch rammed earth walls. We build 7-inch load-bearing rammed earth walls structurally as per codal compliances and norms. Got the authorities to accept it, run through all these parameters and sign off on all these drawings, because end of the day we were building a hotel which had to stand up to modern day compliances and codes to come in out here. So these mixers which we brought in, I think we may have, which came in out here were specifically used in specialized industries. And these are again the components of an ongoing project of constantly assessing math, cost, numbers, convincing clients. No one's sitting there with free tickets and money to spare and spend. So with every changing parameter, it was an effort of understanding, showing value, knowing what the recoveries would be, showing the advantages and gains of being able to build slimmer, being able to build with a lesser volume, but having to spend on an X amount of equipment, worked out to the extent of resale and buyback on equipment purchased within an X period of time to again justify the cost and get buy-ins. And these are all components which happen during our design development process as we start entering builds out here. So, and then for the ramming strength and capacity which we needed. So rather than just conventional mechanical ramming, we went down into going down to pneumatic rammers. Now, pneumatic rammers are used internationally. You have systems, you have equipment to work with in which each pneumatic rammer has the right amount of compressive pressure coming in out here. None of them were available in India. The conventional rammers which we got, we then sat at the traditional Indian jugaad, but with a lot of thought and engineering coming in to buy the smallest compressor possible, did the math to ensure that it could deliver the appropriate amount of pressure into 6 rammers, training the team to work together at all 6 at the same time, because the minute any one switches off while ramming, the others get disbalanced and be able to take it up. So each room module was cast in 1 day, rammed in 1 day. I'll use the word cast because, look, I won't bullshit any of you. The rammed earth is no different from dry concrete. It's basically now the pure proportions of what it is. It's all nicer sounding, but in reality, if you break it down to the minute you mix cement in it, it's dry concrete. And 95% of the rammed earth being built and showcased all over the world is with a cement mix coming into that. The roofs out here we did as ferro concrete walls, ferro cement walls placed over, primarily because we wanted a lighter roof, we wanted a roof we could just place over out there. It replicated in some sense, and that's a story which we give in terms of the jack arch walls of all the traditional villages built down in the neighborhood of where our site was. So those proportions were brought into these. And a roofing system which allowed us to protect and save the internal wall, to minimize any additional civil construction happening, because our internal walls were the finished structures and whites which were getting expressed out here in rammed earth. Now, most rammed earth one sees, as I just mentioned earlier, is with a certain percentage of cement. We accepted that for our structural needs. The focus was to achieve the best strengths with the least amount of additives to the earthworks we make. We ended up getting strengths of up to M30 out of a pure dry rammed earth mix with a maximum 3% cement content. This ended up with us, these are snaps of the build out there with the insulation and other parameters coming in. These are snaps of how the insulation continuously wraps around completely all over the building. So having achieved these strengths of M30 under these controlled conditions of ramming which we did, we pushed the envelope a bit and went back to our structural teams and ended up building the front of house blocks as a framed structure in rammed earth. All of these columns are rammed earth columns. They're structural rammed earth columns functioning as a frame structure. With the authorities, we purely showed concrete to X strength. Changed parameters of rebar design, changed it because it's not conventional wet pores and vibration. Here it's more of the pneumatic rammer, where can the rammer move? Is the stirrup coming in place? How much cover, additional cover? Is there enough space for the stirrup? How easily can I de-shutter? These are all things which we dive down into being able to develop and generate the design. I'm going to run through a whole series of, I'm sorry, I'm seeing this for the first time, so I'm not really sure about the order, so it's going to be a bit mixed up when I speak. This is the finished property. So the end result is a cost-effective, super insulated build with close to 75% of our civil structure. All the earth you see, all the stone you see, everything is from the site. Nothing came from outside. It was built in a manner to minimize internal and external finishes. So the additional costs incurred in the rammed earth walls and the systems we went in for construction were balanced again on paper upfront, getting in a buy-in from the client in terms of external finishes, internal finishes, longevity of the structure, long-term maintenance costs, refinishing costs. These are all parameters. A lot of it is hard sell, some of it is bullshit. But at the end of the day, it's of what one is putting across to someone who's looking at, yes, I need a product at a cost, and how we went about achieving it. So it's like constantly working on the metrics of build cost, finish cost, time of build, thermal efficiency, most critically, and its payback. And to be able to sell the ideas to the client through the course of the build while making it the USP of the property. One constant component again in our design was, as we were stepping down the land, following the lay of the land, it was also a measure of how much soil am I excavating because I need that soil for the next set of build. How much stone am I being able to pull out because I need that volume of stone. And that was a constant exercise being engaged through the design process, constant site reviews and updates as we went about doing this. Again, some more snaps of the site. Okay. This project I've specifically brought into today's topic because one of the primary aspects, including what was mentioned in the parameters of the debate, was over varying project types or varying project scales, varying project volumes and properties. It's very different when we're pushing towards a boutique property and you push the client towards a particular direction. And it's very different when the math and the metrics are so over large and scaled up out there, specifically in this building, and our approach towards how we went about doing that. So the approach again follows the same parameters: efficiency. It's efficiency of build, efficiency of function, and efficiency of my envelope. And the last parameter, visual efficiency, a very critical component, the last parameter in this particular project, because it's a 50-50 conversation for us as a studio. This is an extremely large build on a very, very tight site, very high FSI, extremely limited height because we were right next to the airport, intense program requirements for project viability. The client wanted huge banquet halls, extremely large span banqueting spaces, very high key count, resulting in high parking numbers, extremely tight traffic management issues and problems, and a constantly evolving brief, because with the scale and size, it was a 1,500 crore project, with the scale and size, which they couldn't afford to go wrong. And when you can't afford to go wrong, you tend to be pulled into various different directions of, can we do this also, can we do that also, can we incorporate this also, can we buy into that also? And that was something which was constantly happening with this project as it was being designed. At the design development stage, we did the math and took a call on building this as a steel and precast concrete structure. All were brought in as elements out there, with the only in situ structural casting being the raft below and my basement walls. We again factored the savings on time. We sat with the client again on paper, and this was parallel to our design development exercises. We were actually talking about project build planning while selling our designs to them, to explain to them how would you face such a build, how would you excavate such a large volume of work, where you're going to keep your labor, where you're going to keep your batching plants. These are not things we leave to project managers later and say, oh, we should have thought about that. These are things which we package into our designs from day one to make the whole build cost effective and efficient. So site phasing parameters, manpower management, material movement, and a lot of other site logistics, which all get incorporated into the course of the design. Then we parameters of the build which comes in. So it became an extremely blocky mass in order to achieve the FSI which we had to get, our sketches as we developed it. We then did the math on using delta beams. It's a proprietary low depth system. There's just one company out of Finland, Pico, who does it. Low depth, high span structural beam system. So we reached out to Pico, engaged with them a lot, having taken the first call of building in steel and precast concrete, where we didn't look at delta beams as one of the primary reasons, but having done that and working with hollow core concrete slabs out there is when we figured out that by going into using these proprietary beams, high span delta beams, and saving the beam drop on floor by floor by floor, we managed, within the limited height which we had, we managed to give the client an extra floor. Again, we used that to validate the spend and the extra spend on getting in these proprietary systems of beams and brought into the project. It also helped us open out our floor plates, open out our spaces, free up within this extremely dense build, free up lower floors and open them out whole. This gave us a greater leeway in developing our masses. Hotel floor plates, unlike large office format floor plates, are slender, so freeing up the lower level places for more efficient usage while getting additional keys at an upper prime level coming into the property. While we were, again, snaps of it under construction, so this whole project was designed and managed almost as a conscious sum of parts. It was an intricate exercise which was of X material coming in, X material coming in, to the extent almost of the truck reaching at an X period of time, being unloaded by Y period of time, getting erected by the Z period of time, by the time it moves out and the next lot came in. So it was a conscious dance of parts, and we were an integral factor in being able to put it together and follow up this execution cycle, that it could come up on all levels and fronts at the same time all the way to the top. We hit a roadblock, again, a long topic to discuss, but very briefly come up with this, is when there were new proposed metro lines when we had just come out of the basement raft of this project, and we had got special permission to go down further than what they normally do allow. They had no clue about the metro coming in out there, the authorities, and these new lines got proposed, and our raft was sitting just 4 meters of hard rock strata above the crown of the metro tunnels which were coming in. At that stage, we ended up having to completely redesign and rejig the building. We ended up having to isolate the building completely for vibration. So it was a hard stop in our design activities, reanalyze, explore, find the right systems. Again, a deep dive into research of the ideal vibration isolation systems, finding who the appropriate person would be to come in and step in and give the right solution. Very briefly, you can see the springs which are coming out here. So this entire project, my superstructure, is floating. There is no component of this entire building from the basement to roof all the way to the top which is coming in contact with the ground. Even where there are services crossing the vibration isolation lines, it's been designed for isolation springs to come in to ensure that there is no vibration isolation coming up. This was a cost which the client had to buy into. He couldn't take a chance on a spend of this nature and getting to have metro vibrations travel up to the guest rooms above that. We, however, realized that the seismic isolation, so the product this was designed for is primarily for vibration isolation. But we realized that the seismic isolation this gave us helped us claw back a large part of the spend by further redesigning the superstructure. This eliminated a lot of shear walls and other vertical elements as we managed the code. It's again back on paper, again to draw. Again, it was an exercise of re-engineering, revalidating the superstructure in an ongoing build, getting this was IIT Roorkee in this case, getting them to accept, approve, and give us the go-ahead to proceed and be able to balance that additional spend which went in towards these vibration isolation systems which came in. It was also a very strict client brief. It was a take it or leave it one to us for the building to be neoclassical, how much ever we tried to convince them otherwise. Their references were turn of the century builds in New York and London, and newer refined builds of the same language. It's not a direction our studio is very comfortable with. Ornamentation for the sake of it is visually anathema to us. So I refer to it as a Disney build. I take it on that we have engineered a structure and I have stuck a skin on top of it. The skin could be going in any direction. Our focus and the joy is more of getting in a proportionate skin, getting it built as well and clean as possible, and ensuring I have a happy client at the end of the day and a functioning product. So we took it on as a challenge of a complex build, a structurally and functionally efficient design for the facade to tack on. We developed a modular system of custom-made precast panels with varying nib widths, projecting out to support the neoclassical. So neoclassical architecture, it has its roots in conventional load-bearing construction of 150 odd years back, of just a wedding cake. It's stepping up as we go on. And when we needed the structural efficiency of building as clean, straight, and vertical as possible, we needed our skin to have, however, step in and get layered out there. So that's when these concrete panels are things which we designed them as we had, I think, 6 different panel modules and worked out to almost 72 different iterations of how these panel modules to fix together. And the whole facade, so like the structural build of columns and hollow slabs, the whole facade was, again, a jigsaw puzzle of varying modules tagged together, put. And our client, because our work is scattered over multiple locales and diverse areas, our focus is more on as accurate and clear information and being able to coordinate and communicate to the site to minimize having to stand on site and figure out things in an ongoing build. So a lot of our communication ended up being on these panels being discussed as X number or Y number, almost as a jigsaw puzzle, putting in the parts and getting this erected together. So this was the build as it came up, the superstructure, which came up in, I think, almost 15 odd months, the entire, about once we crossed our vibration isolation and our basement levels, the superstructure just came up in a very short period of time out here. Hotels and other commercial spaces are extremely high energy bills. We can't delude ourselves about that. I can't go and tell a hotel guest or a hotel operator that I'm not going to design for 22 degrees. You can manage with 24, 25, 26. There's some private clients we convince on that, but you can't tell an operator. He has to. So our focus and aim on any such dense goods that I should stop? 5-10 minutes? Cool. Thanks. Yeah. Is to achieve all of it in the most cost-efficient manner of performance, buildability, and maintainability, and that's our job and the ambit which we work towards. I'm quickly going to run through 2 other builds. These happened in parallel to when we were building the Fairmont, and it's primarily to, again, show the diversity of what happens in our studio, as well as the scales which we work with. So this was a regeneration of a 1970s house in Juhu in Mumbai, a private plot on a 1,000 square meter piece of land. In a nutshell, this is what we got in as the project when we stepped into it. We convinced the client that for his needs and a certain spend, we could convert this structurally dilapidated build. It had severe spalling and corrosion, decayed services, 8.5-foot ceiling heights, and funny arches, to a fresh modern home with a further 50-year lease of life. If the client had demolished it, and it just wouldn't have made sense for him not to avail the FSI, build the 14 stories available for him to do, and have to find ways to monetize it when all they wanted was a single-family home for themselves in an extremely short period of time. We put that option on the table and surgically restored the building, creating a brand new home in less time than it would have taken to just get the approvals of a fresh build. Convertibility just don't apply. So that's the old build, and what we changed it into apply to this in the overall picture. It's actually one of the most sustainable and profitable builds we've done, because if I'm going to compare the metrics of having to build a 14-story building when its need was just for a 10,000 square foot home in a 1975 build, and it's a building which now can very comfortably to 2075, the next 2 generations of his family can happily continue to stay there. So these are photographs of the build. I mean, you walk in there, you're not going to know that it's a 50-year-old house. Okay, this is a small boutique property nearing completion. This is happening in Ladakh. It's again a parallel built with the home in Mumbai as well as the Fairmont, which we did. For us, Ladakh it's a dream. It's among the most stunning places we've been to in the world. This was a beautiful willow orchard with 100-year-old willow trees, twisted and gnarly. We designed a simple all-weather property designed to handle a variance of plus 30 degrees Celsius to minus 25 degrees Celsius. It's built in timber and soil from the site and a bit of granite hand quarried from Shea, a neighboring village. No steel used anywhere in the site, no cement used anywhere in the site. Okay, snaps of the site before we stepped in, sketches as we developed it, detailed mapping of the trees, the tree clusters, getting our designs to sit within these spaces out there, varying sketches of systems as we went on to this. So again, it's super insulated. We went a step further, like we pushed the envelope on our rammed earth build. It's probably the only frost-protected shallow foundation structure in these parts. Where we taught that in college, no. Did anyone tell that to us? No. But again, a deep dive. The internet is right out here. We had to walk to our college library. Now, even at 2 in the morning, I can reach out and search anything and get anything and reach out to someone and get live feedback and data. So it's probably the only frost-protected shallow foundation building built in these parts of the world. It's a system of subsoil insulation to minimize heat loss to the ground during winter. It's something which is used in Scandinavia, and it's only now being adopted in some parts of North America. So it's a system which alters the frost line, which forms in our particular site and out there about 5 feet below the site. That's again a metric we went down into. Before we went in, we excavated in multiple parts, we put in sensors, we took in ground temperature readings, we used it to map and understand and establish the frost line. And having then bought into the system, it terminates. The frost line doesn't extend under the building. It terminates on the periphery of the building. It minimizes the heat loss. So again, it's unlike when we built in Mangar, where I'm not losing anything down into the ground. The ground is helping me in the climate I am in, but I'm losing it to the walls, to the roof, to the sides out there. In Ladakh, it's very different. My heat losses are happening in all directions, including down below. And minimizing that heat loss became a it is a major problem out there. Speaking to all the local people, when they, in winter, they end up sitting in their kitchens around the hearth, and they also say that, look, from the evening till the morning, we have lost that amount of heat going down out there. And this is a system which we brought in to address that. It's also a very simple, cost-effective method which allowed us to site the buildings into the ground and meld with the slopes. Again, the only way they could battle that heat loss was to raise their building on 3-4 foot plinths. By going down into these systems of frost protection, we ended up being able to build into the ground and set the buildings within the willow clusters. Varying sketches of as we went about the build. Further detailed drawings of how we went about doing this. So we built with sun-dried mud blocks made on site. Again, no lip service. It's genuinely what was available, what worked, and we did. It's nothing of sustainability is fashionable or this way of building is fashionable. For us, it was the most practical and efficient way to design, build, and give the product. Sun-dried mud blocks made on site, hand-quarried stone, all in mud mortar, and an SPF structure, a superstructure of spruce, pine, and fir, expressed internally in and out. All our walls were plastered with mud plaster with a markala clay, a very fine clay found there locally as the surface finish inside and outside, working with the pan-Indian crew, basically people willing to work in the climate out there, stonemasons from Ladakh, Ladakhi masons for the mud plaster, masonry and the mud plaster, and the timber structures we got made in Delhi, got in out there and integrated it into the thing. We set sun-catching zones to the south, the sunrooms, public spaces with the beds in the center, getting the western sun to come in further as a very focused part into the bedrooms to extend the heat gain into the night. The north walls were kept completely solid. We experimented a bit with trombe walls and then decided it was not worth the additional cost coming in out there. But the north walls were kept heavily insulated, and we, again, a lot of math to find the right insulation, the right thickness of insulation, the right material to come in out there. narrowed down to 100 mil of glass wool vertical insulation and 150 mil of dense tech on the rooftop. And again, finding the appropriate roofing and waterproofing material, because Ladakh's facing a higher amount of precipitation than we're used to. Their traditional roofs were just 12 inches of mud. Let the water seep in a little bit, drips in, and by the time it stopped raining, it just collected there and it dries out. And that doesn't work anymore. And they've started replacing their roofs with RCC slabs and GI sheets and whatnot, which just do not function out there. So we found the right membrane which could function at minus 30 degrees Celsius out there without cracking and breaking. So quickly, these are slides of the project under construction. Again, no cement whatsoever anywhere, no steel, no rebar whatsoever anywhere. And the finished product. So very different from the home in Juhu. It's no skins, no layers, very different from the Fairmont in Mumbai, but it's of where the structure is completely expressed by itself, nothing superfluous whatsoever coming in out here. Okay, I think that's it, yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Please stay back on the stage. I now request Mr. Indrajit Sauji, Group Publishing Director from ITP Media India, and Mr. Karan Rai, Vice President, Sales and Services from ICA, to kindly come on stage and felicitate our guest of honor. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Architects and Interiors India's Design Debate, like I said earlier, aims at presenting the most trusted and renowned brands in the field of architecture and interior design. And having said that, we are delighted to partner with a brand that offers a plethora of finest quality wood finishes and polishes. May we please have the AV?
Italian wood finishes. Good taste shows.
And I'd now like to invite Ms. Khushbu Sharma, RBDM Manager South, ICA Pidilite, to kindly come on stage and present further about their range of Italian wood finishes.
So hi, good evening everybody. I'm Khushbu from ICA Pidilite, and I'm very delighted to be part of Design Debate and honored to be here in Kochi amongst the gathering of such respected architects and interior designers and fellow partners here. So on behalf of the ICA team, I'll be taking you through the company profile and all the innovations that we are bringing in the wood finishing industry. So as you have already seen the consumer film that we played, that you know that we deal into wood coatings and wood finishes that blends in the durability and the aesthetics that is very relevant for any design. So as a company, we are very much committed towards innovating the existing products and elevating the category and the products towards sustainable future. So ICA has been the leaders in wood finishing industry from last over 50 years. And in India, we've been into a joint venture with Pidilite. It's a 50-50 joint venture. We, being the market leaders by creating an innovative product into polyester and moving towards a newer product into water-based finishes, that has been an innovation and elevating the product category as well. Now, as anyway the market is moving towards a lot of matte finishes and a lot of designs are incorporating matte, ICA has been successfully elevated the product category from PU matte to now super matte finishes, which gives the sheen level as low as 5%, where it has got anti-scratch resistance properties. And also we have innovated a category where we have a high build PU in gloss and matte finishes as well. These finishes are for clear and pigmented surfaces both. So some of the properties of the new innovative products and of S-matte is mentioned. So it has got anti-glare finishes where we can achieve less than 5% gloss levels. Fingerprint, anti-fingerprint, which leaves no impression when touched. It has got soft velvety touch and self-healing properties as well. The protector is a product which actually comes under a category which is between PU and polyester, which has got a 3x high build in comparison to our conventional PU, and it has got 4H scratch resistant, longer durability, and it is available in both matte and gloss. Now, let's move towards the relevant issue that we are already facing in the industry related to dyed veneers, and ICA has innovated its product to create a product which is called acrylic UV PU, which prevents the dyed veneers from fading or anti-yellowing. Now let's talk about the hot topic, which is called sustainability, and it is very much relevant. Everybody is talking about it, but how many of us are really doing something about it? So ICA, we have taken proactive steps in leading this movement towards sustainability and created a category which is into water-based finishes. And these are not just only environment friendly, but these are aesthetically also providing a lot of higher standard in performance of wood finishes. Now, in most of the markets and countries like Europe and US, where the market from 4 to 5% has been gone to 40 to 45% in water-based finishes, India currently being at 5% is exponentially growing every year. Some water-based finishes benefits that we usually see in the industry is that it gives you a green certified product. It has got a low VOC levels. It is stain and scratch resistant. It has got anti-yellowing properties. There are no harmful chemicals used. It has got a higher coverage because of the brushability and the sprayability of the product. It has got higher elasticity and low odor because of the no chemicals used in the products. Now let me introduce you the water-based finishes as a brand that ICA has got, which is called Aquabella, and it has got a full home solution as it provides you interior open pore finishes, interior closed pore finishes, some of the unique offerings which also covers parquet and deck offerings, and apart from all the PU matte shades that we have, water-based, we have launched 2,000 plus matte shades also in colors, and it also covers your exterior range, so that's why we call it a full home solution. At ICA, we are very proud to introduce and highlight a project where we think that we are moving in a right direction towards sustainability when we talk about a project that has been approved by government. So we have done this, the Parliament project in Aquabella finish, preferably in nature wood. So this actually gives us confidence in talking about that we are moving in a right direction towards sustainability. And there are many in this room anyway who have been part of supporting in this journey in using water-based finishes, and I'm sure that after today's presentation and many of the finishes that we have showcased at our stall, many will have more users towards water-based and creating this journey together towards sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khushbu, for an interesting presentation on Italian wood finishes. We now move on to the most awaiting part of the evening, our panel discussions. Then we are going to start with the next gen panel, the architects who will build the architecture of tomorrow. And to commence this, I'd like to introduce first our moderator of this panel. She aims to keep each design as bespoke as possible. Her designs are more minimal than extravagant as she believes in breathability in personal spaces. Regional architecture has always been an influence when she designs in the tropics, but she also attempts to produce a fresh take on the conventional design elements. As a sustainable building practice, her firm promotes the use of local materials for construction. It is also her common practice to break down and understand the property of every new material or technology she uses so as to put it to its best use and bring in innovations where she can. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the extremely talented and the moderator for the Next Gen panel, Architect Varsha MB, partner at Studio Vista Architects. May we please have a huge round of applause? I would now like to introduce and invite our rest of the panelists for this session. Mr. Karan Rai, Vice President Sales and Services from ICA, Architect Mohammad Afnan founder principal from Humming Tree. Next is architect Nihad Uvangal, founding partner from Atix Architecture. Our next speaker is architect Nimisha Hakim, co-founder Design Ashram. And last but not the least, we have architect Sudhish Sudharman, managing partner and architect from Ego Design Studio. Can we have a louder round of applause for our panelists, please? Thank you so much, all of you. On behalf of Architects and Interiors India, I welcome you all to the next gen panel of Design Debate. I now request our moderator, Architect Varsha, to kindly introduce our speakers and kick off this debate.
It's a pleasure to be here discussing a very relevant topic, that is sustainability versus profitability and finding the balance. For those who don't know me, I'm architect Varsha. I'm a partner at Studio Vista Architects, co-founded by me and my partner architect Sharika. We are based here in Cochin. I'm a graduate from CET and I've taken post-graduation from CET University. I'm also a part-time academician at Azadi College. So I'm also an executive committee member at the IAA Cochin Center. And I think, sorry, I'm a little confused with the mics and everything. Yeah, first I'd like to thank the ITP Media Group for launching this platform. I've had an association with them when I was among the first, the top 50 under 40 in IGEN in 2021. Yeah, I think all of us here are, I think, a part of the IGEN. So, and since then, they've been kind enough to feature some of our projects over the years. So I've had a good association with them. So thank you for that. And so when this came up, this, the design debate, the panel discussion came up. So Ms. Sheraz Khan had called me and asked me to be a part of this. And I was actually hesitant because the truth is I'm a practice where we would love to practice sustainability, but we rarely get a chance to, So in most of our projects where we try to suggest sustainable choices to pursue the client to make sustainable choices, we mostly cannot because there is always a pushback from the clients in the sense that either it is cost or it is too much time or things like that. And what happens at the end is we give in to that kind of the pressure from the clients, and then we go with more readily available items from the market, which is actually, in fact, all these, which are things actually which come from a very large distance, and which is probably not, in the end, a sustainable choice. That happens, and then another challenge we mostly face is when, we come up with these. Passive design technologies in our designs, but mostly, again, we face challenges, we face resistance from the clients when they come back and say, oh no, that is not possible, we can't leave our windows open like that, what about the mosquitoes, what about the dust coming in, what about the security, what if people break in and all those things. So finally, we fall into that same loop, same circle where we have to go back and, probably put in glass over the windows, and then this leads to putting AC and air conditioning in all the living rooms in addition to the bedrooms. And that again leads to another, this thing where, leads to urban heat build-up and more power consumption. But thankfully, due to the awareness recently, people are getting, motivated to put in renewable energy resources like solar panels and etc. And so that is there, but still this is a continuous loop where we try to bring in sustainable building technologies into the construction industry, but we again face pushback, and we can't blame the clients for this always because we have to see their side as well. I mean, at the end we are hired by them. We are their architects, so cost efficiency becomes a matter here. When I thought back to the request that came from Sheraz Khan, whether I should be a moderator for this panel debate, I think In the end, I am probably the perfect candidate to be the moderator because I would like to know from these people how they navigate these challenges in the industry. So, yeah. So we have an incredible panel here today, what ITP calls as the next gen architects, and some of them are actually, I know most of them personally, and some of them are my own peers, but I truly, truly admire their work. But before we dive into this discussion, let me take a moment to introduce each one of them. Architect Nimisha Hakim is the co-founder along with architect Brijesh Shaijal and partner at Design Ashram, a Calicut-based firm known for its community-driven and socially responsible approach. She's a graduate of CET. She pursued a master's in urban design from SPA Delhi, focusing on people-centric cities. Under her leadership, Design Ashram has won several awards, including the IAA National Award for Socially Responsible Architecture. She also heads the firm's interior design practice and has held key positions such as Secretary of IAA Calicut Center and is currently the Executive Committee member of IAA Kerala Chapter. Welcome, Nimisha. Architect Mohammad Afnan is the Principal Architect at Humming Tree, a multidisciplinary design studio blending architecture, interiors, and product design. His experimental approach has earned him multiple accolades, including recognition in AD100, IIID National Awards, IGN Awards, and the A Design Award Milan. Beyond practice, he has served as Secretary of IAA Calicut Center, country representative for Arcasia's Young Architects Committee, and is currently a managing committee member of IIID Kerala Chapter. His work has been featured in several national and international publications as well. Welcome, Afnan. Architect Nihad Ovangal is a partner of Attics Architecture, Calicut, and also one of the directors at Green Era Life. He graduated from TKM and holds a postgraduate degree in environmental architecture. His portfolio spans commercial, educational, healthcare, and industrial projects focusing on sustainability and efficiency. Recognized with awards from ICI, IANB, GLITZ, CWEB, and IGEN. He's also the current joint honorary secretary of IAA Kerala Chapter. Welcome, Nihad. Incidentally, we also have the other joint honorary secretary of IAA Kerala Chapter on our panel today, Architect Sudhish Sudaman. He is the managing partner of Egos Design Studio Trivandrum, known for its innovative and sustainable approach. With 16 plus years of experience and a postgraduate degree in construction management, his expertise extends into construction, product research, and development. His work reflects a deep understanding of material innovation and craftsmanship, ensuring high-quality architectural solutions. Over the years, he has received numerous prestigious awards, including the IAA Awards, FOID, JKIA, and GLITZ for his remarkable contributions to architecture. Welcome, Sudhish. And finally, bringing in an industry perspective beyond architecture, we have Mr. Karan Rai, Vice President of Sales and Service at ICA Italian Wood Finishes. Karan is a seasoned sales and marketing professional with 2 decades of experience, primarily in the home improvement and decor space. His professional birth and upbringing were at Asian Paints, where he spent the first 7 years of his career. During this time, he introduced the industry's first color signature store aimed at redefining the way consumers interact with color as part of their home design journey. In his current role at ICA Pidilite, Karan continues to redefine the boundaries of luxury home decor through ICA's Italian wood finishes range. I certainly hope his insights on material choices, sustainability in manufacturing, and market trends will add a valuable discussion to our discussion. Welcome, Mr. Karan. Okay, without further ado, let's dive right in. I've taken the liberty of going through each of your portfolios, and interestingly, I found that each of you addresses different dimensions of sustainability through your projects, be it material reuse, affordability, contextual integration, or large-scale environmental and social impact. So instead of beginning with a broad discussion, I thought I would first explore these nuances. For the understanding of the audience, these architects have worked on a wide array of projects, but today I'm referencing some of their projects only to highlight their distinct approaches to sustainability. There will also be some visual aids on the screen that I put together that can help you to connect with the project. Once we've set the stage with these insights, we'll open up a conversation that brings all our perspectives together. Can I have those? Can I have the presentation? So I'll start with you, Nihad. So in many of your projects, I noticed such as the Pavilion House and the Lucid House, courtyards and corridors play a special role, as in you have managed to blur the boundaries between the both. You have seamlessly integrated the built and the unbuilt. Okay, so my question to you is, how have you done that? How have you convinced the clients to, bring in these elements into the space, which are like passive design methods of, in a place like this, which is a tropical region where cross ventilation, natural ventilation is very important to do away with air conditioning and such things. So, question is, how have you done that?
Well, first of all, thank you ITP for inviting me for this session. And with all my fellow architects and Mr. Rai, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you on the stage and sharing the same platform. For us, it's like we prioritize our designs with 3 elements. Like we think of energy efficiency and cost reduction. And second thing is we always think of well-being of the end users. And thirdly, we think of future-proofing. Yeah. For this, like, the thing is, like, we always consider all our projects, as a team. We work as a team in our office. Like, we have 4 partners and we have almost 9 architects working with us in the team. So we always say to our team that we will do things in a sensible way. And we ask our clients, we educate our clients initially, whenever they come to us, because we are very lucky, all of us very lucky to be in this era with in the social media era. So people are much aware about what sustainable is, and they have a lot of opportunities to see around what is happening around the world. So for us, it is much easier to educate the clients, showing the visual images initially, creating some mood boards, and as I said, initially we think of the sustainable factors like passive cooling systems and other things, and obviously the well-being of the end users. Definitely, when you talk about residential architecture, we always consider our end users to be primary users, and we always educate them how to use, how to manage, and how to create well-being within their premises. And thirdly, it is like the future-proofing. Future-proofing is like we have all codes coming in on the way. Like we have the design developments happening within the KMBR, Kerala Building Rules. So all these will definitely help in the future for our projects also, so that it gets more sustainable. We also come back with that all codes and those things. So that's how we do in most of our projects. Yeah.
Thank you, Nihad. What is the terminology again? Future-proofing?
Future-proofing is like our buildings to be future ready, like to be adaptable with all your building codes and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very
because
nice
we have design policies discussions happening within IAA with our bureaucrats, discussions happening with other people other people over here in Kerala. So this will actually adapt, all these things will adapt to our buildings also. Yeah.
It's a very nice terminology, future ready, future-proofing. Yeah. Future-proofing our house is very nice. Thank you, Nihad. So my next question is to Sudesh. So Sudesh, while going through your portfolio, I felt one of the standout projects. Can I have the next slide, by the way? Oh, yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, this one, correct. So yeah, while going through your portfolio, one of the standout projects that I felt was the home leftover. Okay, so now this I understand is a home for a carpenter and his family. In this project, you've transformed salvaged materials into a functional and aesthetically pleasing residence for a modest income family. I have to admit this project is an eye-opener for me. Considering your willingness to take up a low-budget standalone residence and the beauty with which you have executed. I mean, as architects, we all fear to, or whenever somebody comes with a low budget, we're like, okay, should we do it? I mean, will we be able to, showcase our talent, our expressions? That thought comes into our minds. So I really appreciate the way, your team's willingness to take up a project like this. So what I would really want you to do is to take us through that story. How did you do it?
Actually, first I would like to say it was not kind of a willingness, it was forcefully, like we were asked to do. Actually, the owner of the house, actually she also works with us. So she was regularly behind us, so they needed a home. So they wanted a solution so that they can live in a better space, literally. Actually, they were literally living in a shack that was next to this. So, as you said, the budget was the main constraint of this project. So, we were also like working how to complete this. Actually, this was done in a phase-wise manner, kind of like they did the foundation with whatever money they had. They had some support from an organization that was bare to minimum to at least complete the like basic structure of the house. So, we were working for some time. Then at the right time, actually, we were doing a renovation project in the heart of the city. So obviously, our industry is one of the major contributor of waste to the environment. So most of our building waste goes as landfill, most of the time. That too, like, it's like something worse that we are doing to the environment in terms of whatever we are putting back after the building or the demolition. So we were thinking of how to dispose of the material or how we can upscale or recycle the material that we were getting out of that renovation part. At the right time, fortunately, the owner of the house was a carpenter. So we spoke to him whether we could use and recycle the material what we get from the other project. He was also happy. And so at that point, we even tried to incorporate other material which comes as a surplus or sometimes discarded as a waste from multiple sites or factories where they categorize those material to secondary or tertiary, like third quality or second quality material kind of, which the normal clients would not be taking. So we were able to identify, source those kind of material and use it comparatively well for them. And they were also happy with that. So actually this was like a culmination of a process of upcycling or to do a sustainable process where we can minimize the wastage of material or like usage or reuse of material in whichever possible way so that the impact of those material to the environment can be reduced. And also like you said, we were able to source these material like within 50 kilometers range, most of the material. So most of them were upcycled. Some of the materials we were able to source from like factories nearby which they categorized as second quality material. So these were able to be taken to the site and the vehicle won't be reaching the site because of the like limited access to the site. So most of the items were carried head load also. So we were very careful to identify the material that we could use and we were able to do that. Actually the project cost, the cost of the completion was like literally 4 to 5 lakhs. All other material we were able to source and do it in the best possible way. So this was a confidence booster for us. We were able to implement these kind of like options in other projects as well. Not in such a lower budget project, but even in a higher budget project also we were able to do similar kind of attempts. And after this actually we were able to attempt many low income or lower budget projects as well. So it was also a challenging task but interesting as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that deserves a round of applause. Can you imagine completing a building in 4 to 5 lakhs? Is that even possible? But these guys did it. Thank you, Sudhish. So, going on from there, next is to Mohammed Afnan. So before I go any further, I have to say I truly admire your office's bold approach to design detailing. I mean, I first took notice of you guys when I saw this office in yellow. Yeah. Okay, and I was like surprised. I mean, here's a firm that, you know, who is ready to explore, ready to challenge the Malayali attitude or Malayali's preference for muted tones. So I was very happy to see that. I think since then I've been taking notice of your firm's work. But for today's discussion, however, I have chosen two different projects that stood out from rest of your works, both for their simplicity and seamless integration with their context. One is Paddock, which is an unconventional showroom housed in an old building, and then the Wayanad Weekend Home set in an ecologically sensitive area. So my question to you is, in your design process, how do you navigate the fine line between adding layers of detail and allowing minimalism to speak for itself? I mean, are there any particular principles or cues that you get from your site that inspires you to design for that space?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Architects and Interiors, ITP, for inviting us to be part of this great session. Okay, so yeah, these are one of our projects which has been completed, I think, 3-4 years back. Those were the time where, you know, we were completely, I mean, me and Arun, he's my partner, so we both run the firm, kind of exploring too much, but I think we stopped it now. Yeah, so for us, taking up a project was pretty much challenging because we always work on different lines, because we make sure that each project, you know, has a different entity, different approach, different aesthetics, and of course it's not so easy, because as an architect, we get different kind of clients, and as I really agree to Nihad and Sudesh and all, but our thing is entirely different. When people come, yes, they don't come with a budget, but at the same time, when you come to the sustainability, it is very difficult to, you know, to convince them. That is because, you know, when we talk about low budget, sustainability, get raw things, you know, these people actually, you know, gets like, you know, why do we do that? Why do you want to do that? So for that matter, I would say this Paddock is a car showroom where the owner of this showroom is, who was a dealer in, you know, he has a showroom, BMW showroom in Kochi. So he's the owner. So just imagine when he approached us, what he would be thinking about a showroom. Straight away, we putting up this stuff, and he's like, what? So he wanted to demolish this whole stuff. And me and Arun was like, let us not, you know, get into him quick and just say this is what our design, but let us go to the site. So that process actually took us, you know, pretty much guts, and said that it's around 100 years old building where we could reuse the whole stuff. Whatever you can see in this building, it's 100 years old bricks, which we actually just took it from that same site, rearranged it. We used the same technique with the limestone than plastering, and whatever you can see, all this, the curated stuff with the industrial thing, which was the waste stuff, which was there. So for us, you know, though he has got, you know, so much of money to invest, but we try to do something like this, also made us so confident to move on with the, you know, different typology of thing, but at the same time, he really appreciated it. The other one, which I would like to say, this Weekend Home, which is in Wayanad, there also, this guy is an NRE, and he wanted a vacation home, but his expectation was also something else. But we try to accommodate all the stuff somewhere, you know, around 1 kilometer from that particular area. Even the labors were somewhere nearby and understood, and even for the furnitures, we actually opted to take the furniture sourcing from Matanjiri and all, recycled it and did. So these two projects, not only the several projects we try to attain, you know, all the sustainability stuff, but at the same time, yes, details are very important, right? How you put it, how you curate it, that's like, you know, me and Arun sometimes fight in the office. How do you position this stuff? Where that line should be? That's an art. So I don't know how to explain that, but we are very passionate in that. We fight for it. I'm sure that it may take some time, but at the same time, balancing your art, positioning it, convincing the client with terms of all this sustainable factor, it's just a very challenging stuff. But somehow we could do it. But at the same time, what I still feel is we used to get calls by seeing all these projects, by saying that we also want to do something sustainable. But as soon as we get into the details, they might be like, we have a budget of this, but we wanted marble somewhere, we need tiles somewhere, I need ceiling somewhere. So we know that that's not the thing what we really want to convey. But however, out of our 100 projects, it might be 20% of the things which we actually try to do. But as you mentioned, yes, those lines are a practice. Me and Arun studied together. When we were from second year onwards, we've been together. So we both know each other about our lines. So we respect each other, and that's how these lines come. Yeah,
Very
thank
nice, very nice. So it's like making a statement, right? Asking a BMW car showroom owner to repurpose a 100-year-old building when he could have done anything with the site, anything, absolutely anything with the site. Getting to convince him to do something like this, that itself is making a statement when it comes to sustainability. Okay, thank you, Afnan, for that. And going on to Nimisha. Thank you, Karan, for that. So before we continue, I just want to say Nimisha and I are actually college mates, so I know her for a long time. And I have to say this on a platform like this, that I can't be prouder of you. As a junior and a fellow women architect, to see you shine on multiple platforms, it's really something. So can I have an applause for that? Now coming back to my question, the Hammock residence. That is a remarkable example of blending contemporary design with historical elements. Notably, you've incorporated some elements, like you see the old card, the boulevard, and some of the columns that you see here. How could you think of putting it in such a fine example of contemporary interior architecture? Where does it come from?
So, good evening, everyone. I think balancing luxury with sustainability, it's a tough job. Mainly when it comes to my clientele, they want big houses rather than going for cost-effective houses. So it's really hard to convince a client to build a sustainable house. So I won't claim that I am a sustainable practicing architect, but then I try to bring minimal damage to the nature. So in this particular project, the client was very particular that he wanted a modern residence, and it's on a hillock. That's why the project is called Hammock. And when it comes to the scale, it's big, and he spent a lot of money on this project. He didn't want to compromise the architecture part. But then in terms of site planning, yes, we didn't block the views or damage to the slopes or something like that.
You plan according to the context.
Correct, yeah. And when it comes to the interiors, he wanted something unique, and usually the clientele from Malabar area, they are ready to spend a lot of money on the interiors. But in this particular project, what we did is he wanted something unique. So rather than spending a lot of money on the interiors, we went for recycling the old materials like the bullock cart. He wanted an installation as a part of landscape. So what we did is, rather than going and purchasing a huge materials, we took abandoned bullock cart and just reframed it as an installation in the front yard, and it's just juxtaposing, same time it's just complementing that form there. And when it comes to the interiors, you can see a lot of pillars, and even it's not shown in the photographs, but then we had used a lot of headboard bars, a lot of abandoned materials into this particular project. So that's how we made the interior more emphasizing. And I think true luxury is not about the materials, the luxurious materials, but it's all about creating meaningful spaces with depth, history, and sustainability in mind. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nimisha. That is a fine example of how you can, reuse and locally source all these discarded materials, and then even then produce something as beautiful as that, right? Finally, coming to the industry representative on our panel, I have a question that may sound very cliche, but very relevant. Okay, so I want to know, I did see that slide that Khushbu presented previously, but I would still like to know from you about what steps is ICA taking to reduce the environmental footprint of your products, both in its manufacturing and application.
I think I can bore you with some of our sustainability points when we say that, I think we heard Mohit speak earlier. So it's a similar story in terms of, let's say when we manufacture, we do take care of reduction in electricity by 40%, using 49% renewable energy, flowing back so many liters of water for the metric ton of production. But I think I feel like a pigeon amongst cats right now, and I would like to be a little cheeky and place a framework with which I look at sustainability. The way I look at sustainability, and I think I was talking about this in some other forum, is that it starts with awareness. Awareness is that I know that I don't want to drive my car to the superstore nearby, something that we were talking about, because it might just leave a carbon footprint. But then I think it needs to then move to sensitivity. I think the projects that we saw Ashwin and Manish speak about, and it also reminded me of the movie that we saw at the film festival, Ashwin would remember, Green Over Grey, where Emilio Ambas was also talking about how if you look at their projects, it's not really about spreading awareness. It's about how intricately they're connecting the two ecosystems of green and grey, versus saying that the green intrudes into grey and the grey intrudes into green. I think that's the second step. And the third step is where manufacturers like us come in to provide the means. So what you saw in terms of water-based, or what you saw in terms of things that we want to do in terms of giving you those means, while I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do on your own in terms of repurposing, in terms of natural lighting, in terms of heat insulation, in terms of low energy consumption. But I think it's the responsibility of manufacturers to constantly innovate and keep coming back and giving those means to opinion leaders who are sitting in this room. I think that's where I say our responsibility lies. But from the awareness to sensitivity is where I think I would say that people in this room will have to play that role. And we will keep coming in with the promise of delivering means as much as we can. Water-based is just a start of that.
Thank you, Karan. I think it is when industry representatives like you take responsibility for the products that you produce and say when, time's up. Okay, and say, and tell us that this is a sustainable product that we can confidently, recommend to our architects, to our clients as architects. That is where you make our jobs easier, I guess. So thank you so much for that. We did have a round of general questions. Should we go ahead or should we save these people? Because I think a lot of them are very hungry and ready to go home after the fabulous dinner that ITP has hosted. What do you think? What do you think? Should we go for another round? Because we do have another panel as well coming in, this Doyen's panel. I think we should wrap it up. I mean, look at their faces. They're all very dull and unhappy that they are not being served. Sorry? Okay, yeah, okay. So I think we'll just wrap up with a key takeaway from each of us. How do you think, what is that one advice that you can give? Because I see a lot of young architects also in the crowd. What is that one advice that you can give to them as, seasoned architects, experienced architects in the field for more than a decade now at least, about how you can educate your clients when they come to you with demands for high-end products, what they see on Instagram, Pinterest, things like that. How do you think you can educate them? What is that one thing that you will tell them? I think I'll start with Sudesh.
So actually, it's sometimes difficult to educate a client how it should be sustainable has to be earthy, those kind of things actually sometimes it will be difficult for us to convince the client in that way. So we do a shortcut. Actually, most of the time it will be difficult to make them aware of that. So what we do is that we convince them about the experiences that they will be having in that space while using such elements, materials or design. So those experiences, if they get convinced, like it will be better than a conventional way of doing things, it will be something different from the routine what they see in architecture and in and around their nearby spaces, they will be easy to get convinced. So that is the shortcut that we use. The experience that they get from using these kind of like alternate materials, space, like, or even in terms of design. So that will be a better or easy option to convince them.
Convincing them of the experiences of design spaces, right? Okay.
As well as the materials.
Okay.
For me, what I believe is like, it's all use of common sense. See, perspective of sustainability. Sustainability is, it's a subjective thing. So this sustainability is not mine.
I agree.
Definitely different that of Nimisha, Afnan, yourself. So it's totally different. So it's like you have to think twice before applying a material or before coming to a concept. And it's also different for a client also. So it's like you have to educate them and you have to think wisely, where to put, where to use, how to use those things. Yeah, that's what I personally feel. How you define sustainability.
Thank you. Neha.
Educating client is the toughest thing I had faced ever. It's like we have to create awareness among the client rather than educating them. The final call is on the client side, so we cannot impose the decision. It's just we can create awareness and we can show comparisons of the materials and show a brief presentation on what the impact of each material would be, or else rather than sustain, we can talk about durability and we can emphasize on local craftsmanships, and that's how we can educate the client.
Yeah, durability is a good word with them. Yeah, that's true.
And
So
we
good.
can talk about alternative materials rather than going for importing materials. We can go for local materials as well. Yeah, without compromising the feel and the desire of the project.
Yeah, but when you go for local materials, doesn't it always also impact the cost, the overall cost of the?
That is a big question.
That's a question which is very difficult to answer,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
Afnan?
What I advise the young guys, young architects, is that how smart you are by not choosing a project. Educate the client initially by giving a sign that whether you are the right architect to do the project. That is a thing which I have learned. We should be very smart because time is something which goes by. Being practiced for a decade, what I have understood is this, that you just go to your past, you understand how many of works you really like and how many of works you really, really wasted your time. This is also important. You get a lot of inquiries by the clients. They come to you, understand them, and take a right decision by taking up that project and giving them a hint that, this is not my cup of tea. This is not an architect what you actually wanted. And this, we have a practice in Calicut that any client comes to us, yes, we do share that. See, I'm not the right architect for you. You go to this particular person.
And we do collaborate also. We do much more collaborative projects, like 2 firms, 3 firms working on a single project. That happens in Calicut. That culture is being developed by our seniors. And yes.
Yeah, we do have really healthy discussions. Yeah, so this is the point, and I really feel that young people need to think about it, rather taking off a lot of projects and just start doing it. These awareness to the clients are so important. Even they understand, okay, this is how to choose an architect.
Yeah.
So that's the first point to be noted. So this is what I wanted to say.
True. I mean, it's not necessary that we attempt every genre, right? I mean, there is a specialized architect for everything. So if it's not your cup of tea, you direct them to the correct architect. It's true. And while we are at it, I think we think it's also important that we, initially at least, tell them about the long-term savings as compared to the short-term benefits while recommending any material or any kind of construction technology. And if they take it, well and good for them. Otherwise, right? Karan, would you like to add something to it?
Yeah, sure. I don't think I'm qualified to give any advice to architects and designers, but borrowing the term onlooker from Mohit when he spoke earlier, I think as an onlooker, I would say is definitely not an either-or situation. I think we've seen enough examples today from Manish and Ashwin when they spoke about concrete not displacing green or the other way around, which is rare anyway. But I think how they've shown us the way to intricately connect both and how both of them feed off each other and grow and blossom together. And I think those examples are very inspiring for us to see. So I think the only advice would be that it's not an either or. I don't think it's an option. The degree may vary, and I think we've traversed a long journey. We've definitely made huge advances in terms of the awareness and sensitivity that I was talking about. So I think let's just see it like that. Let's just see that it's not an option, but definitely a responsibility. And the leaders have shown the way on how to do this. So that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you, Karan. I think we'll wrap up with that. That's all from us, guys. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. I request all of y'all to please stay back for felicitation. I now request Mr. Mohit Hajela from Jaguar India and Mr. Amarnath R, business lead from Dorma Kaaba, to please join us on stage in felicitating our next gen panelist. And can we have a huge round of applause for this session? I request our panelists to please come forward for felicitation as I call out your names. We start with Mr. Karan Rai, the Vice President of Sales and Services from ICA. Can we have a louder round of applause, please? Thank you so much, everyone, for contributing to this panel. As we continue to introduce our esteemed partners for this edition, we now would like to shed light on one of the world's leading manufacturers of access system. I would like to invite Mr. Arvind Prasad, Manager Dorma Kaaba, to kindly come on stage and share a presentation about their excellent access systems.
I believe it's the toughest time to present on product portfolio of Dorma Kaaba. But please bear with me. It's been 10 minutes, few videos, and I'll try to make sure that it is crisp and sweet for you. So people are aware of Dorma. In fact, what is Dorma Kaaba? So just a short video on who we are.
Every day, thousands of people trust us. When they go to work or head off to their vacation, we are there when you say farewell to your loved ones, or when you welcome new life into your family. To make you feel at home, even in public spaces, every day, around the world.
So this is how we are present in Indian market, which is Dorma Kaaba henceforth. So this is how we are present in Indian market and globally. So Kaaba being a Switzerland-based company which has started their operations in 1862. On the other hand, Dorma being a German-based company started operations in 1908. From then on, there is no look back on the journey. You can see people talk about the patenting of, people talk about the reversible keys today, but you can see the patenting which has been done way back in 1934 with Kaaba. And people talk about the automatic solutions. After pandemic hit us, automated solutions became the need of the hour. So you can just imagine the automated solutions has been first produced by Dharma way back in 1962. So that all the technology is, that all the company is. And this complete merger happened in 2015 where Dorma and Kaba together partnered. And from then on, there is no look back. Lot of acquisitions, lot of new product portfolios, new product solutions has been given into this market. Yeah, we are a 160-year-old company with more than 16,000 employees. One big part I just wanted to highlight is 1,800 patents. When you say patents, we are the first runner in that particular product portfolio with investments of over, with a stable company with investments of over more than 100 million for R&D in a particular year. So a lot of certifications, you name for the certifications, yes, we always adhere to it. A lot of, again, accreditations, if you want a EN standard product or an American standard product, which can be given by Dharma Kaba to you. So one main part which I just wanted to highlight is people talk about NABL certified for laboratories, but this is we are proud to say, in fact, this is the first company to have an NABL tested laboratory for hardware testing. So this is in Mahindra World City, Chennai. We have Indian headquarters is Mahindra World City, Chennai. So we are again proud to say it's been 100% solar powered. People are talking about sustainability. Yes, we live by it. This is how we enable your business. Basically what happens, access has been redefined now. There is reimagined access. So we can give you a form and function because normally what you see a door closure, the function of door closure is to close the door back. But what is added as a form to it, aesthetics to it, that defines the product because aesthetics plays a vital role in architects' lives. So we offer solutions based upon that. There is integrated access. Every stage of the building life cycle, we offer solutions. Say right from the design part to the service part, execution level, we offer solutions. Seamless flow is one part of a solution which we can give you without compromising on the safety and security. Seamless flow became a trend after this pandemic hit. So people wanting a seamless flow, but then the security has not to be compromised on that. We offer solutions to it. And last but not the least on the sustainability, people nowadays talk about sustainability. Yes, we are a sustainable company offering solutions for tomorrow's generation. You name the industry, our expertise are there, banking, industries, factories, airports, you know, like the amount of security and the safety required in airports, we offer solutions across India, across the globe on airport solutions. Apart from that, yes, residential, commercial, we offer solutions in all the segments. This is the main portfolio of Dharma Kaba. So we are in access automation solutions, where in entrance automation, you talk about revolving doors, you talk about automatic sliding doors, you talk about swing doors automated. So we offer solutions for that. Entrance security is one part because architects, designers like you design a building lobby space where you find not an aesthetical product, a steel product which is securing the building. So we offer aesthetical security products like swing type barriers can be given. You can see in airports, people are using the security barriers, which can be the need of the hour today. And access hardware solutions, we offer all type of door closures. Door closures can be the functional door closures. Door closures can be aesthetically designed door closures without compromising on the function. We offer you architectural hardware, like all the panic bars, door handles, everything comes into this category. You have mechanical key systems. We have an eye-secured, patented mechanical key systems with one home, one key concept. So with one key, you can operate the complete residence without sacrificing on your safety and security of the building. So access control, ACS, we can offer you a solution on escape and rescue. You would have thought of when there is an access control door, you would have thought there is a mechanical EM lock which has been fixed to it. But problem with that EM lock is when power fails, it is accessible on either side of it. Majority of the building are with EM locks. So people, I mean, because these are all like system integrators who does it, and they give you a EM lock which is easier. Rather a sophisticated solution, they give you an easier solution. But the problem with that, when a power fails, it is accessible on either side, and your building is at security threat. To avoid that, we can offer you solutions with fail-secure mode, which is electrified solutions, electrified locking systems. Lodging systems is for the hotel locks. We can offer you a full-fledged hotel lock solutions. And access control, right from your standalone system. Say for an example, a particular door to be an access control door in a no time, we can offer you. Just replacing the cylinder, put an access control digital cylinder, or replace a lever handle with a reader, that particular door becomes a standalone access control door. From there, we can offer you solutions to enterprise level. So full-fledged enterprise level, like with readers, controllers, softwares, we can offer you solutions. Apart from that, service being a main part with Domakaba, because we always rely on our service team. In India, we are present more than 25 plus years, and still we are growing taller just because of the service playing a vital role in our business portfolio. Apart from that, we have key systems, safe locks. One among them is the sliding folding partitions, acoustic partitions. Normally, you would have seen acoustic partitions, which is horizontal moving. We can offer you solutions which actually goes into the sky, which is to the ceiling. So those kind of sophisticated solutions can be offered. In that, we had few new launches in this particular product portfolio. I'll run you through few videos, and I'll conclude my presentation on that. This is one automated solutions none of the competitors in your market gives you, with a gearless motion and 50% more life cycle. But we are giving a 15 lakh cycle. Normally you see in a market which is 10 lakh, we can give you a 15 lakh cycle tested product. Just a video on it. You can see the durability, weight. So completely gearless movement. So this is what I was mentioning. We can give you a 15 lakh tested product. Advantage is that you can actually add on, you can actually have a plugins. So at any given point of time you need to enhance your system, you can do it, which was not possible in the earlier systems. One among the enhancement is even Domakaba service team knows like when this particular product has to be serviced. So that is one among, like with a mobile app, if it is configured, we can know that this particular door has to be serviced at given point of time. Even that we can do it. So AI becoming the trend, we have the solutions for that. And one concept people talk about sustainability comes inclusive spaces. We are again a company where we wanted to act upon it. So barrier free. Barrier free means what? Normally what happens? Barrier free, you remove all the barriers, you enter a premises, yes, it becomes a barrier free. But a problem is when you don't have any particular security to the building, how does it become a barrier free? For that, we go for an automated solutions, and we offer you a solution which is a cost-effective solution, because automated solutions cannot be used throughout the building. So we have to go for a mechanical door closures. So that door closure is a cam action door closure, which we offer. So this is as per the standards. I'm just skipping on the video, but I'll tell you what is RPWD, Right of Persons with Disability Act says, what is BS says, what is American Disability Act says. So this kind of standard says that a particular door, the opening force you apply to open that particular door should be less than 20 newtons. This is what the standard says. And we adhere to standards. We have a door closure which is adhering to that standards. And finally, I conclude with this presentation on the specification support which Dorma Kaaba can offer you.
You don't just plan houses and buildings. You create spaces that define how we work, connect, and live. And we are proud to support you through this process. To achieve your project goals, we work plan in a flexible manner, adhering to your timeline and budget.
I am being part of specification team. I'll be happy to have you alongside with us, working with you. And one more thing, which is a new launch, which is EntryWorks. The architects or the influencers working with Rivet. So we can offer you BIM modules, all the product portfolio of Dorma Kaaba, and that can be seamless flow. Just a small video on that and I'll conclude. Thank you. Export the files, we will be importing it, and we can work on the tailor-made specifications, send it back to you, which became seamless. And every time there is a revision done in the drawings, which will be reflected to us once you send it. So again, you may think that privacy of the particular project has been lost. No. So that is where we are. Thank you. So few references, I thought I'll just show you Amazon TCS, yeah. So you name the projects, we are there. Thanks for your support.
And we now move on to our last and final session of the evening, the panel discussion we've been waiting for, the Doyens panel. I'd like to begin with inviting the moderator for this panel. He is a multiple award-winning architect, both at the national and state level in 2017. His flagship project, Aquatic Resort, bagged 3 awards for the World Luxury Hotel Award held at Switzerland. His work styles has been greatly influenced by the premier icons in the field of modern architecture like David Green and Andrew Holmes, who were also his mentor during his time at Oxford. Please give a huge round of applause and welcome our moderator for the Doyens panel, Architect Kochi Matthew, Principal Architect Kochi Associates. Can we please have you on stage, sir? I would now like to invite on stage the rest of the panelists for this session. I'd like to start with Dr. Fatim Rashna Kalingal, Technical Advisor, GIZ. Ma'am, can we please have you on stage? Next, we have Architect Jose Matthew, Principal Architect, JKM Design Consortium. Our next speaker is Architect Saiju Bashir, founder for Inside Architects, coming all the way from Trivandrum. And last but not the least, Architect Zareen Jamshedji, Principal Architect from Zareen Jamshedji Architects.
So to be sustainable and profitable, we'll make it as short as possible. So let's give a big hand to the entire event organization for such a wonderful event this evening. So as promised, we will make sure that we are short, crisp, and to the point. There are no projects to be showcased, but we will be talking a little bit on the philosophical side of it. And then I am sure that one promise which I can give you is that even if you don't receive any particular results to it, at least some thoughts, some sparks will come into you. And I hope that will be the beginning of a conversation of how sustainability and proper profitability can blend together. To start with, we would like to split sustainability and profitability into 2 parts. I think sustainability is something which we have all used and overused. So for the time being, let's keep sustainability aside and let's talk only about profitability. I like to interact with the audience also, if possible, if somebody is there. Is there a mic for the audience? Is there a mic? Can you just give the mic to the audience so that we just keep it live? Can somebody in the audience tell us what profitability is? I see Saiju, our electrical contractor, a huge entrepreneur. He's just behind you. Sir, can you just explain to me what profitability means to you? Let's forget about sustainability for the time being. You could introduce yourself.
My name is Saju. I'm an electrical contractor as well as interior design contractor.
And he's a big businessman also. So you could explain what profitability is.
Profitability is coming along with sustainability. We could not forget sustainability because we have to leave something to our future generation as the earth or the globe should be sustainable. And architects must do some projects with sustainable thinking. That's a must. And profitability come along with sustainability only. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Now, can you hand over the mic quickly to Sharika? Sharika, a quick explanation on what is the difference between profit and profitability. Does it sound similar?
No.
Okay. Can you hear something from you?
What exactly?
What is the difference between profit and profitability? To be quick.
I think I'll take some time to think about the
Okay, since you're going to take some time, I'm going to hand over the mic to Jose Thomas, sir, who would kindly explain us about profitability. And once we define profitability, let's quickly go into sustainability. And in no time, we're going to finish it because we are all hungry for drinks and food. Sir, all the honors to you.
Thank you, ITP, for inviting me to this great gathering of architects and public. I think we should make it very short because it's already we are late by 2 hours. I'll make it very short. I'll put an example. When a builder or a developer creates a gated habitat or a flat, and when he sells it, he gets a profit. That is profiting. And profitability is return over the investment. I will give you an example. I built my house in 1990. That is about 35 years back. And I used exposed laterite for the exterior of the entire house. That is available about half a kilometer from my site. So just imagine in 35 years, how much of paint has been saved in 35 years. That is profitability. And if you use solar, I use solar water heaters in the year 1996. Over the years, how much of power has been saved? And even now, if you use solar power, how much of energy you are going to save? That is profitability. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to ask Fatim to speak a few words on profit and profitability. Let's quickly define it and move on to sustainability and then try to combine both, and let's see if we can make a nice cake out of it.
Yeah, thanks, Coach Doman. So with your permission as a moderator, I would also would like to say a disclaimer. So all opinions or perspectives that I share here are solely of my own views and personal opinions and do not reflect the views, policies or positions of my present or former organizations or institutions or affiliations. So maybe I can bring in an international development perspective, profitability in international development.
I think quickly you could introduce yourself, where you work.
Yeah, okay. So I am the technical advisor, GIZ India, and I work in the urban development sector, focusing on gender responsive, sustainable urban development. Yeah. Profitability, like we might need to reframe the question a bit, or perhaps rethink the way we respond to this question. Like profitability for whom? Or whose profitability are we talking about? So talking about the impacts of climate change, the disproportionate impacts of climate change. The world's poorest have contributed least to the problem through their emissions, yet they are impacted the most. Data says that the average person in high-income countries emits more than 30 times as much as those in low-income countries. And similarly, high and upper middle-income countries account for a much larger share of emissions than their populations. Despite being home of just half of the world population, they emit more than 80% of the world carbon emissions. Specifically speaking, the world's poorest countries need more support to tackle the vastly unequal impacts of climate change. The marginalized groups and the most vulnerable face disproportionate challenges in terms of extreme events. For instance, when disasters strike, women and children are 14 times more likely to die than men, as per UN Women. And most vulnerable are often also disproportionately impacted by measures to address climate change. So in this context, again, when we talk about profitability, whose profitability are we referring to? The investors, profitability of the investors or developers, or the users and beneficiaries? The profitability in climate action, the profitability of the world's largest carbon emitters, or the most vulnerable and disproportionately impacted people. Profitability of the authorities, investors, or service providers, or the most vulnerable people who are disproportionately impacted even by the negative impacts. I'll stop there.
That's great, with a lot of statistics and information, and with a nice disclaimer before that. Thank you. Now coming to Zareen. Zareen, I just want to ground it into Kerala, in Cochin itself, where you have done a wonderful project which is sustainable to the best of the efforts you could do. A place we always get together and have parties. So could you explain your experience about doing your own house, which is like net zero carbon, where I think you as a client, how did profitability matter to you, and you as an architect, how sustainability was important, and how do you think that we can as a society bring change by bringing sustainability and profitability together? Sorry, it is too long.
It's okay. I'll keep it short. As architects, all we can do is inspire. We can make a very small impact to the numbers, because the real impact comes from the people that manufacture the systems, that create the engineering products. That's where the numbers come from to make it net zero or to make it carbon free. As architects, all we do is assemble it and inspire. We have the capacity to inspire people around us to look at something that has beauty, which then they translate as sustainability. And with that inspiration, it propagates as a sustainable way of thought. Unless the way of thought comes about, the way of life cannot come.
Yeah, thank you. So what Zareen did is, can you just quickly explain what the building, the house which you did, like the kind of materials you used, and then how fast you did it and all those things, so that I can just take it out from there?
That's a lot to describe.
No, just make it quick,
Yeah.
short.
So it's a prefabricated system of construction. It's insulated, and the entire house is spray plastered. Then we had gone to a laterite cutting yard and found laterite paste, which is the particles of laterite which fall on the ground. When you cut laterite, we picked that up, formed a mud plaster, plastered the entire house, and grew ramacham on top. Ramacham is vetiver, which many people had as fields and farms around here in Kerala, but you no longer see. It faces a paddy field, so the only intention was not to look fancy, but not to be seen. I didn't want a structure that was visible, so we tried to hide, and that was one of the ways in which we could hide with the surroundings. And speed mattered, so we built in 6 months. So that's about it.
Just to complement what Fatim said, can you give me some numbers on the thermal insulation, the difference in temperature in terms of kind of values?
Numbers would matter to people, but more than that is the feeling, what you get with it. To put into perspective for somebody just to understand, if you were to cool a space that is insulated, we heard both the architects talk about insulated rammed earth, etc. But as a practical, a person who uses it every day, I can tell you that you're cool once you have it.
Thank you. Coming back to Shaiju with a lot of international experience, particularly in a booming sector like country like Saudi, and also in Muscat. There are a lot of initiative which happens and where things happens where you don't have to really bother about profitability. It's more about trying to set standards for the coming generation, the Gen Z. So can you just throw some light on your experience of what people of that side of the country think about it? What do they think about sustainability, and how do they perceive profitability from their point of view, I'm asking?
I was expecting such kind of a shoot from him anyway. But I mean, sustainability versus the profitability is something what we talk about. But before that, actually, when we were having a small discussion on that, what is profit, like profitability and profit? If you have a goat and you sell it and you buy another goat, that is the difference. But I think in terms of when you talk about the Middle Eastern context right now I'm working on, where I can say that I sell a goat and buy a camel. So what you get is not like exactly apple to apple. Okay. So I'm talking the story behind, because every project is not actually starting from the point of somebody's vision to do a project. It's starting from the very policy level. So for example, in Oman, presently what I'm working for, the idea is to generate more number of expats there. So what they do is that they wanted to invite more expats to their country to have more population, to have a better dynamism of money circulation. So that is the reason behind their investment modes. So there the profitability, in order to get attention or the investment, they will have to do something what you call, what you see recently, all these things. So definitely, so the sustainability has to be redefined at this point. Their sustainability is based on the policy. Their country has to sustain on a particular base, and they develop a policy based on that, and they're traveling to that. But here, when we talk about the environmental perspectives and other things, definitely it's a question mark to ourselves. Keeping it aside, the other side, the profitability. The profitability has to be thought again. So when somebody is building something, investing a huge amount, he is not expecting the return in terms of money from that point alone. He will have different vision, different gains, just like very many intangible profits. That is what they aim for. Then intangibility which can be marketed or made into cash in some other point of time. So this is a big chain, and we are actually in one point in a very small cross section of this thing. This is my response to your question, but I'm just worried about the sustainability and profitability of architectural practice.
Can I have the mic to Varsha, since he was moderating the other thing? Let's have some coordination with the two panel discussions. Varsha, what is your thought about, because I'm sure that you have done a lot of homework preparing to be a moderator for the Gen Z. What is Gen Z's, Sir was particularly asking us, like, what is Gen Z's vision about sustainability and profitability? What do you think?
First of all, I'm not Gen Z, I'm millennial.
Oh, I'm sorry. But you should take it as a compliment, you know?
Oh, okay. So
say thanks to me.
Thank you, Kochaman. So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
No. What do, I know you might not be a Gen Z, but what do you think, based on your study and based on your preparation of being a moderator for the Gen Z, what do you think that Gen Z thinks about sustainability and profitability?
Okay.
Do they feel it as a challenge, or are they confused? They don't know how to go about, or is there a specific direction they know how to take it forward?
It is a challenge, definitely it's a challenge, because most times we do know that this is a particular path that we have to follow in order for our projects to be sustainable. But most times what happens is, for people like us who are just starting off, we don't have any godfathers in the field. We are a self-made firm. So landing a client is often very difficult for us. So once we land the client, instead of trying to turn that project in, if we start educating or them, lecturing them about going the sustainable way, we might just lose that client, So yes, we do want to follow sustainable way of, constructing that building, but most times it is a challenge. It is definitely a challenge. So I'm a little apologetic about this, but most times we do find the easy way out.
Very true.
Yeah.
You spoke from the heart. Thank you.
I did.
With the permission of other panelists, can I just do a concluding statement and close it? Because I think it's too late. Okay, the concluding statement is quite simple. I am the only person in this room wearing this dhoti. And I find this is the most sustainable and profitable thing that you can wear. It is environmental friendly. It's not just that I can use this dhoti, same dhoti can be used by my son, by my dad. So it can be used by everybody. Even if it gets old, this dhoti can still be used for cleaning tables. My mom keeps using this because she says this is the best cloth that can be used to clean plates. My car driver makes sure that he gets a piece of this to clean the glass because he says nothing like this actually. So to the last piece, this dhoti can be used. But why is that nobody is wearing the dhoti? That is the exact problem we have between sustainability and profitability. It's because we have to bring a perceived value to it. How do we bring perceived value to it? When I start wearing such kind of clothes in a larger audience like this, it becomes a standard. It becomes an aspiration for others to start wearing it. And once people start wearing it, it becomes a trend. And once it becomes a trend, automatically money will flow with it. And when money flows into it, there will be a lot of people who will be investing on R&D to get things like this happening. The same thing can be applied into sustainability. We need to forcefully, that's what Saiju was saying, from the government to the individual. We have to bring a perceived value to it. We have to create a perception of value to it. Once that value is created, more and more people will start doing it. Once more and more people will start doing it, more and more people will start producing materials. For example, the styrofoam which Zareen had to buy was all the way from Pune. Now what if this idea of hers clicks and everybody starts building houses with styrofoam? I'm sure that hundreds of companies will start here making styrofoam. That itself will reduce the carbon footprint. So we need to create value. So it has to be a societal change and certain government initiatives that could make benefit to it. So to conclude, profit is simply a short-term return of investment. Profitability is a long-term achievement. And sustainability goes blend with profitability because it is not the short-term goal, it is the long-term vision which we should have. We should think wider, broader, and we should think global. Thank you so much for hearing us. And it was great to be part of this event. I congratulate Saiju for giving me this opportunity and getting me all over here. Though we had a very short time, I hope I did justice to your confidence. And then thank you, Zareen, for coming all the way and through your short words explaining about sustainability and the project you did. Fatim, numbers were amazing. I would like to relook at the numbers. So I hope others will be also interested. Joe sir, I don't know how, such a big person. Yeah, so.
I think since I am not introduced, I will introduce myself. I graduated from CET in 1976. That means I have 48 years experience. I have won several national awards, regional awards, and one of my work has been nominated for the Aga Khan Award.
Lovely.
Thank you.
So that's kind of the big person we have. Sadly, we didn't have much time to discuss in detail, and we didn't want to extend the time because I know that you're all hungry and there's a lot of high and fine spirits over here. So let's enjoy. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to all of you for contributing. I request you all to please stay back. I would now like to invite Mr. Mohit Hajila from Jaguar India and Mr. Karan Rai from ICA to please join us on stage and felicitate our Doyen's panelists. Thank you. So I request you all to come forward for felicitation as I call out your names. Architect Dr. Fatim Rashna Kalingal, Technical Advisor, GIZ. I request Mr. Karan and Mr. Mohit Ajela to come forward for felicitation. Thank you. And next we have an architect with a professional experience of 4 decades. He has to his credit 4 national awards, 3 regional awards, and nominations to international awards, including the Aga Khan Award for Architecture. IIA honored him with the Best Sub-Center Award while he was the chairman of Kottayam Sub-Center. We have with us architect Jose Matthew. He is the principal architect of JKM Design Consortium. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Next, we have architect Saiju Bashir, founder of Inside Architects. Thank you so much, Saiju, for coming all the way from Trivandrum. Next, we have architect Zareen Jamshedji, principal architect Zareen Jamshedji Architects. Okay, next and last but not the least, our moderator, our leader, architect Kochitaman Matthew, principal architect of Kochitaman Associates. Thank you so much. Can we have a group picture, please?